gentlemen, the show is about to start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
He'll be fire on the mountain.
It's time for Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Built by the Barndominium Company, served by Chicken Cock Whiskey, and part of the Chief Sports Network.
Juice Wells, all the way, touchdown Gamecocks.
Pressure, and he just dives in.
Dozier, notice.
Here's J.C. Sherbert, Phil Mullinax, and Jamie Bradford.
Well, they'll be able to hear all of us tomorrow night at Williams-Brice Stadium. Welcome back. Greetings and good morning, and welcome aboard Inside the Gamecocks, the show built by the Barndo Co. and always live from the Sinorama Studios, served by Chicken Cock Whiskey. Your tailgates tomorrow will be alive, loud, proud, and happening, and we hope that Chicken Cock is a part of that as well. JC, JB, and Phil here until 2 o'clock this afternoon, and we'll be joined by Michael Flint in the noon hour. And at 1:30, former tight end Wesley Saunders will be here as our special guest picker and to talk about this ball game, in addition to some of the things that he's doing as well. But rivalry weekend finally has arrived. At the same time, it's kind of sad because the end of the regular season got here before you could even bat an eye. It has flown. Carolina is one of 22 teams this weekend who are looking to become bowl eligible with a 6th victory. 22 teams across the country will try to do that beginning today. We'll go inside and out of this ball game over the next few hours here on our program. We'll also give you all the championship game scenarios across college football beginning today with some interesting stuff around the country. We'll make our picks, and we'll have a lot of fun. I hope all of you had just a wonderful Thanksgiving. I know we did here at our home, and I know that Phil and JC both did as well. And we're glad to have you back as college football has returned. It's going to be a great day of games as well, beginning here in just about an hour and all the way through late tomorrow night on this holiday kickoff weekend, if you will. But Phil, JC, we're dressed. I'm not actually dressed by Britton's currently. My clothes are already packed, and I didn't realize that until just a little bit ago because I've got to hit the road for Columbia. So, Perry, forgive me, but Phil and JC certainly look good. And on top of that, if you are looking for a good Black Friday deal, you can go to Britton's on Divine Street in Columbia and get a $100 gift card for just $75. That would mean that's 25% off. So basically, they're just giving you $25 to come in and purchase a gift card for yourself or someone you love this holiday season. Britton's on Divine in Columbia. Can't thank them enough for making us look good around here throughout the season, and for many of you throughout the state all the time as well. $100 for $75. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. That's quite a deal. Nat and I were sitting there thinking about it because, we have a senior in high school and, graduations and stuff. Sometimes they happen in December if you're in high school or even in college, a lot of them in college. And, sometimes you get nice clothes because you're going out in the real world or going moving on in your life, right? And so, it's usually about $300-400 if you want quality stuff. So you add all that up, you can save $75-100 off something.
Yep.
And these days that's rare, but Perry sent me that today, and certainly he's a great guy. Big Gamecock fan, loves this rivalry. If you go in there and get him talking about his big Thursday collection, he's got game programs from back in the day, all that good stuff. Also want to, talk about Teddy Hefner today from Sports Radio there in Columbia. Thanks for the shout out on the article I wrote yesterday about. I just poured out my heart on the keyboard. I rarely write stuff like that, but took a personal trip down memory lane through 36 years of this rivalry and what it means to me. And I told some stories. Phil, I didn't get into some details that maybe you know of that I didn't get into.
That was probably a wise decision.
If you went through it, you and your wife and our friends, our little circle of friends, but certainly just there's so many memories from this game through the years that sort of parallel with life. And it was amazing. The people on Big Spur and the people I talked to that like, I remember this. Somebody's child was born the day of the 06 game. So that's their favorite win. Cause I went there and said five best wins, 5 roughest losses. And then 5 times I didn't care who won, cause I had a great time anyway. And so that was good. That was good. But I want to thank everybody for the feedback on that. Cause that when you write something like that, you maybe it goes over like a lead balloon, but it didn't. So that was good. But yeah, we had a Thanksgiving yesterday, but we're actually going today to eat with Nat's parents because the boys were with their dad's family yesterday. So we just sat around and I got some work done and we got some prep done cooking wise. And, it was kind of an uneventful day. I did get a chance to watch the Egg Bowl, but as this kickoff has drawn closer, and I don't get this way about games often, but got that feeling in the gut about this one, like the excitement, the kind of nervousness. It's a big one, folks. It's a big one. So that's a good feeling to get sometimes.
Yeah, there's a lot that that obviously will go into this ball game. There's a lot on the line, really, for South Carolina to try to get into a bowl game. To kind of tee it up here, the Tigers will walk into Williams-Brice Stadium tomorrow night at 7-4, 4-4 in the league. The Gamecocks will be hosting them at 5-6, and they wrapped up the SEC at 3-5 on the season. This is also the first time in a long time for a stat that neither one of them really want to carry. It's 4+ losses. Both teams enter the game with 4+ losses for the first time since 2008. Now, there have been times after that where Clemson or South Carolina, this might have been their 4th loss, but entering the game with 4 or more losses, that hasn't happened in this rivalry since 2008. Williams-Brice Stadium is sold out. 77,559 at least will be on hand tomorrow evening, and it will be 47 degrees at kickoff. It will be nippy and down in the low 40s by the time the end of the game rolls around. On the SEC network, Taylor Zarzer, Matt Stinchcomb, and Alyssa Lang, they will call it. And the Gamecock Sports Network, of course, will have it over the air with Todd, Tommy, and Chet. You can also, if you are not in the state or don't have the Gamecocks app, listen to it on Sirius Satellite Radio, channel 106 and channel 190. A win over the Tigers boys would improve Shane Beamer to 10-3 in the month of November as the head coach of the Gamecocks. It would also send them to a bowl game for the 3rd straight year under Coach Beamer. The last time that happened, the last coach, Will Muschamp, took them to a bowl game each of his first 3 seasons as well. It would extend South Carolina's winning streak to 4 games. That is, and would be their longest of the season, and it would match the longest in the Shane Beamer era in Columbia. It would give Carolina back-to-back wins over Clemson for the first time since they won those 5 in a row back in 2009 through 2013. It also would allow South Carolina to finish the regular season 500 or better in 3 straight years for the first time since 2016 through 2018. It would allow the Gamecocks to finish this season with a 6-1 home record. The last time it won that many games at home in a season 2013. They went 7-0, if you'll remember that year in Connor Shaw's final year. And finally, it would allow the Gamecocks to post a perfect 4-0 record in the month of November for the first time since 2013. The injury report, your guess is as good as ours. They're all questionable, according to Shane Beamer. I know DeCarrion Joyner has said he is playing. We'll see when, if, where he gets into the ball game. Certainly the conversation will still circle around Juice Wells. Will he be out there warming up by some off chance, even though he has said he is returning in 2024? Who knows? The series history, clearly the record is in the hands of the Tigers, 72, 43, and 4. Clemson leads it in Columbia, 53, 32, and 3. And the last meeting, we know what that score was, 31-30 last year up there in the upstate. The last time they played in Columbia was in 2021, and it was a brutal night, 30-0. The Tigers pitched a shutout against the Gamecocks in Shane Beamer's first season. Beamer, of course, now 1-1 against the Tigers, and Dabo Swinney, all-time 8-6 over South Carolina. So it's going to be a big night.
I think Dabo's lost to South Carolina more than any other team. I want to look at the Florida State record, but I think it's South Carolina. I mean, I don't. He hasn't played Alabama enough to have a losing. I mean, they haven't played enough to have 6 losses. So, yeah, it's crazy. Frank Howard, one of their legendary coaches, actually had a losing record against the Gamecocks. As dominant as they've been in this rivalry, you wouldn't have thought that. But it's been close under Dabo. It's been guys like Tommy Bowden that have run it up. Danny Ford had a really good run against the Gamecocks too. But if Beamer should win, that is 12-2 at home at night under Shane Beamer, with the last loss being that Clemson game you mentioned, JB.
Mm-hmm.
They have won at home at night 8 in a row, 9 in a row, dating back to that. They didn't lose a single one last year, have not lost a single one this year. I know the sun was down by the end of the Florida game, but that doesn't count. Night kickoff, right?
Night kicks.
Also wanted to say happy for Alyssa Lang that the SEC Network assigned her this game, because she hasn't always been on this Stinchcomb team. They kind of move her around. So I know as an alum, it probably means a lot to her to cover the Palmetto Bowl and the Clemson game and all that. So the Palmetto Bowl is a new. Let me ask you this: is the Palmetto Bowl a newish kind of term for you guys?
Yeah,
because we always called it Clemson Carolina, and I know Clemson shouldn't be mentioned first, but that was just kind of when it rolls off your tongue, Clemson Carolina, or Carolina Clemson. When I was growing up, I never called it the Palmetto Bowl, but I guess it is now.
Well, I think that was probably for the first time about 15 years ago, really, is when this term first kind of came up. But I like it, though. I'm glad it's here. I hope it stays.
I like it, too. I'm glad they adopted it. It makes sense. I mean, and it truly is, the game for the state at this level, for sure.
Exactly. When they play this game, by the way, it's the 9th most played rivalry in college football history. That stat oftentimes will slip under the radar a little bit. It was the second longest streak of games, like most consecutive games played until the pandemic ended that back in 2020. So, this we've been doing it a while around here. With these two programs, and the Gamecocks certainly need another streak like they had about when it really started about 14 years ago, to try to tighten this thing back up, or get it a little, not tighten it up, but let's make it look a little bit more respectable from a record standpoint.
Yeah, I totaled my, it's like I said, I kind of started understanding. I don't count anything before I understood it, right? So 86 was the first year. Obviously, my first 2 years, I didn't experience a loss. It was 1-0-1, but I think it's 12-23-1. So they've almost doubled me up in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And that's with a 5-game win streak. So think about that.
Well, and it's with the 7-game win streak that they were on from 14 until 21.
Yeah, I'm not sure that this thing's going to be that streaky here. I think we're heading for a period of back and forth a little bit with this one, as Carolina continues to build their program and Clemson continues to do what Clemson does. I think I think we're heading back to a little bit more of a competitive type rivalry, moving forward. Certainly South Carolina, it would be great if they got this one, because this one is more than just bragging rights. I mean, it changes sort of the narrative for the entire season.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying if Carolina loses Saturday that there are no bright spots and the program's in the tank. Now that they just got to go recruit, make changes, do whatever they got to do, avoid this thing. Most importantly, stay healthy,
Mm-hmm.
But boy, if you can win it, it erases a lot of disappointment this past year. A lot of disappointment.
Yeah, I think that, first of all, it gets you back to a bowl game. And from the perspective of this program, they need that. They need, not only do they need the game and an opportunity at a 7th win, but we're all aware of how many young players have played really their first college football this year, and how many young guys haven't played their first college football, but their first real college football, getting real time. And getting the month of December to be able to go out and practice and then maybe play again towards the end of December, like that will go a long way. I mean, you've also got this thing coming up called the transfer portal, and you really would like to still be playing football, because it puts if you lose that last one and you're not going to a bowl game, it makes things a little bit easier for players sometimes to say, well, it's over. I don't have anything to do. I'm getting out of here. And that's going to happen. Like, the portal is going to hit South Carolina. It's probably going to hurt them. And the Gamecocks are going to have to go out and find some guys, just like they've had to do every year since this thing really became a thing. But it makes it a lot easier for players to decide, or if they're on the fence wavering whether they want to stay, go, or whatever. JC, you cover this inside and out. You know exactly what I mean. If it all ends tomorrow and there is no more football until they get to spring practice, these guys have some time to kind of sit around and think, and you might see a little bit more chaos develop on your roster during that portal period coming up here in about a little bit less than 3 weeks.
Yeah, the phone starts ringing, right? Because you're not, I think there's exams coming up. You're not really practicing. You're just working out. You got a lot of free time. Yeah, the texts start coming in, the DMs. People slide into your DMs. You ever heard that term? Yeah. Slide into my DMs. And I'll say this, look, guys, this portal thing, we almost have to every year sort of reset our minds and examine it in a different way. Don't get too high, don't get too low, because it's ever evolving. I'll say this right now, just based on some conversations I've had. I don't expect a mass exodus. I certainly don't expect what happened last year, where arguably 3 of the top 4 offensive players bolted.
Mm-hmm.
And when it looked like they were staying. But I'll say this: don't believe everything you hear either way. Even if there's some ominous signs, eventually the truth will come out. I'm not saying just listen to me either. I mean, that's not me plugging my reporting skills or anything like that, or Big Spur or anything. This show, I'm just saying it could get a little hairy, and I think this year, whereas last year, I think the expectation last year was South Carolina was going to do just as good in the portal as they did the previous year, where they got Spencer Rattler and Juice Wells and Austin Stogner and all these guys. Really, a lot of good players that came in. But the little thing called NIL caught up with them, and they didn't. Now, a lot of people said they failed in the portal or whatever. They should have gotten a running back. If you want to know where they kind of came up short, it's hard to get offensive linemen. I don't know. Look, they did the best they can there. And Nick Gargiulo's been a pretty studly dude the whole year for them. Thank God for him. And they got him out of the portal. So I don't think it was I just don't think they did as well as they wanted to. This year, it's going to be so much more about who do you replace the guys that leave with, whether that's people graduating, whether it's people going to the NFL, hitting the portal, whatever. Because I guarantee you, and there's no specifics here, there will be a player that we all love, that we all thought, man, that guy's going to be good, that we're all excited about when they signed him, that maybe has even shown flashes on the field, that gets up the hell out of Dodge. And you got to look at it kind of like Moneyball. You know, seen the movie Moneyball?
Right.
You know, how do you replace that guy, and what are you replacing? Are you replacing his potential? Are you replacing him for depth purposes? Is he a special teams guy? Are you replacing his speed? Are you replacing his production? Is it just about his numbers? You know, what are you doing? Because that's what's going to be important when you're looking at the portal. And then, unlike in Moneyball, where you have data and years worth of batting averages and on base percentages and stuff, the production doesn't necessarily line up with the potential production for next year. So you have to project on top of that. I would not want to be Taylor Edwards and this coaching staff or any coaching staff right now trying to figure all that out with your job on the line. And these guys' jobs are on the line all the time. Every decision they make, it's about their job. So, you know, I would just encourage everybody to strap up, make sure your seatbelts are fastened, your tray tables are in the upright position. I hope you listen to the emergency speech at the beginning where the oxygen mask comes and stuff, and you know how to work the emergency doors, because it's going to be a wild ride.
Boy, you got that right. It could certainly be a wild ride both ways. Carolina, of course, can improve their roster big time here in the postseason as well. It's 11:22 this Black Friday. The Black Friday deals are all over the place, and we certainly have some from our clients as well, including up to $600 off of a Vinton Bikes at Electric Bikes of Charleston. 600. Yes, you heard me correctly. ElectricBikesCharleston.com. You can find them on social media as well. And you do not have to be in the Low Country if you would like to shop there. They have the best warranties and the best service, and they can prove that. That's why people come from every corner of this great Palmetto State to shop at Electric Bikes of Charleston. Thank you so much, Michelle, and your family for what you all do. All right, we will tell you more about some of our friends here and their Black Friday deals as our program rolls along. Remember, use the Chief Sports app if you're out and about shopping today or you need to order something online. Pull up our app and check out guys like Rescues and Resin, Electric Bikes of Charleston, and so many more who have some great deals this holiday weekend. Lots of football to get into, including some incredible high school games tonight in semifinal games all across the Palmetto State. We'll tell you what those are. Again, Michael Flint, Wesley Saunders, both set to join us later on as well. Don't go anywhere. Inside the Gamecocks, the show. We'll be right back.
Chicken cock originated in Kentucky, like so many other bourbons. And so the resurrection of it, Paris, Kentucky, that's the county seat of Bourbon County. So much of this whiskey was being made in that Bourbon County, put on ships and barges and shipped down to Ohio, down to Mississippi, and got to New Orleans, where it got distributed all over the world. And people kept saying, well, hey, I want some more of that whiskey from Bourbon County. And so that's how bourbon whiskey got its name. And chicken cock originated actually in Paris, Kentucky, which is today Bourbon County.
If you're in the upstate of South Carolina and are in need of residential real estate services, Cindy Bass Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane is for you. Ask her about the village at Creekside, all of her listings in my hometown of Spartanburg, South Carolina, right there on Daniel Morgan Avenue, married to a lifelong Gamecock fan. And many of our listeners have already bought homes from her and been 100% satisfied with the detail and care she uses. Cindy Searfoss, 864-414-5271, Caldwell Banker Kane in the upstate for your real estate needs.
Building your dream home is often just that, a dream, and sometimes a nightmare. But at the Wando Company, they commit to quality and build without sacrifice. Customization, open floor plans, limitless flooring options, maintenance-free and easy installation perks, and affordability are just a few reasons why they've been named one of the best builders in the U.S. Believe in your dreams. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. That's thebarndominiumco.com. The Wando Company. Gamecock owned, Gamecock operated. The preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics is Signorama Columbia, and they should be yours too. A full-service sign company that handles design, production, install, and service, Signorama Columbia has helped to bring to life the perfect vision for so many all across South Carolina. Owned and operated by proud Gamecock alumni, they can handle all types of signage, including interior and exterior, vehicle graphics, and more. Go to Signorama.com and find the West Columbia location, or call them at 803-407-9284. Bring your brand to life with Signorama Columbia, and go Gamecocks!
Thunder, feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder, 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 feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder, 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 feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder, 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 feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder.
I tell you what, Dowell Loggins, Spencer Rattler, and Xavier Leggett sure would like to see that play happen tomorrow night at least once in Williams-Brice Stadium versus a pretty stingy Clemson Tigers defense that will be in town, giving up 21.1 points per game. Welcome back inside the Gamecocks, the show, part of the Chief Sports Network, which is very proudly presented by Dixie Vodka. I hope you've got plenty of that tomorrow at your tailgate. It is some smooth stuff. So if you're going to be tailgating and getting out there early, make sure you've got the Dixie Vodka and, of course, the chicken cock on your table to share with your family and with your friends. A reminder, President Donald Trump will be in town tomorrow night at the ball game as well. He is scheduled to come in later on in the afternoon, and it will impact traffic. Get there early. Those of you that understand that the president is coming, that also understand that there are 80,000 people that are going to be in the ball game tomorrow night, and the fact that it's a rivalry game showing up at 5 p.m. tomorrow and then complaining about traffic, nobody's going to want to hear it. So get up, get out there, and enjoy the afternoon. First, go ahead, JC.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. On the Trump thing, I was at the 2017 national championship game in Atlanta. Trump was there, Georgia, Bama. Mm-hmm. We almost didn't get in the stadium on time. I think it was right before kickoff.
Yeah, there's going to be added security.
I would, yeah. So get there early traffic wise, because they're going to Secret Service and all that will block it off. But getting into your seats and into the stadium is going to be a pain in the rectum. Yeah. So
leave early.
I know you don't want to cut the tailgate early. Grab you a couple of fists full of beer and put them in your pockets and chug them while you're waiting in line, because it's going to be longer. But trust me, I've lived through this before. Yeah. I mean, and it got to the point too, all the tickets are e-tickets now. It was so there was so much internet and stuff going on around the Mercedes-Benz that night that we had trouble pulling up our e-tickets.
Right.
So make sure you prepare. Be like Raymond Reddington from the Blacklist and prepare for all contingencies tomorrow. Absolutely. Before you head into the football game. And and I don't know if it's changed now that he's the former president. But there's still Secret Service wherever he goes. I mean, they get protection and stuff. So just be mindful of all that.
Going to be some excellent games tonight across the state at the high school level. How about this? 26-0, a combined 26-0 are the Somerville Green Wave and White Knoll. 13-0 on both sides of that one, being played tonight at 7:30 at White Knoll. So good luck to both of those teams. You've got Greenville at 10-3, at Westside at 12-1 tonight. At 7:30. Good luck to everybody playing in that game. Abbeville at 12-1 will take on 14-3 Gray Collegiate Academy this evening. Bamberg, Earhart, and Johnsonville tonight at 7:30. Johnsonville at 10-2 on the season. BE at 12-1. Dutch Fork just could not get it going early in the season for all sorts of reasons, but you just don't discount that program. And once again, here they are in the semifinals. JL Mann will walk in sporting an 11-2 record. Dutch Fork at 8-5 with a chance to move on to a state championship. Oceanside Collegiate Academy at 10-2. They've got 12-1. Hampton County tonight on the road. Camden and Brooklyn Casey will be playing. Camden at 10-3. Brooklyn Casey at 11-2, separated by about 35 minutes. Both of those programs are anxious to suit it up and get out there. Christ Church Episcopal tonight at 11-2. They've got St. Joe's Catholic at 11-2. Both of those programs have had excellent seasons. Another 26-0 combined record in this one between Belton Honeypath and Daniel, 13-0. Both programs, they kick at 7:30 tonight. And then this one, also 26-0. South Florence and Irmo, 7:30 kick this evening in that ball game. So 3 games with combined 26-0 record. Going to be some outstanding high school football being played across the state. All right.
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to JL Mann. Somebody in the chat box mentioned it the other day, and I didn't get to it. That program is like this side of horrible, or used to be historically. And now we see all these Greenville County schools are making noise.
Yeah,
I heard of St. Joseph's Catholic in there somewhere.
Yeah, St. Joe's, Christ Church. I mean, both
they had a football team. I mean, I don't know where this is coming from, but yeah, I mean, kudos to those guys. I mean, like there's plenty of people in Greenville, just like there's in Spartanburg. Just historically, they haven't invested, and they didn't have middle school football and all that crap. But I'm pleasantly surprised by the JL Mann Patriots. Wow.
Yeah.
That's they've had some basketball guys every night. They've had some football guys go. I guess one kid went to Michigan from Mann. I think Carolina got a kid from Mann, but their athletic history has not been super solid. So hats off to the Patriots.
You got a bunch of games starting today in college football at noon. We've got some pretty wild Big 12 scenarios that we'll get to coming up here in just a little bit. But last night, the Egg Bowl kind of was an egg. 17-7, the final score. Ole Miss did cover by the hair of their chinny chin. For those of you like myself that took the 10 in our Fab 5 challenge. By the way, some of you have snuck in Fab 5 challenges today. That game was played last night, so you don't count. So if you happen to miss the television set on Thanksgiving night, we're not stupid. So sorry. You will be discounted from the standings. But Jackson Dart guys held to only 96 yards through the air, and really no offense to be found in this game. But Ole Miss did their 10th win of the year under Lane Kiffin, and they also kept Mississippi State at home for bowl season. The Dogs wrapped it up at 5-7. More than likely, they could slip in there from an APR standpoint if there are not enough 6-win teams in college football. Again, 22 programs this beginning today through tomorrow are attempting to get eligible by getting that 6th win. But Mississippi State also finished the year at just 1-7 in the league as they search for a new coach. So a couple of things here. Guys, first of all, on the game itself, thought there'd be a little bit more of offense last night. We didn't get it. Number 2, JC, I know you speak the language of the agents in that wild, wild west world that's kind of the underbelly of this whole thing. Any news on how quickly a new head coach might be named out there in Starkville?
No.
Yeah.
There's not.
It's been quiet.
It's been quiet. Gosh. I think the bringing Dan Mullen back thing was just a speculation by the media, because I don't think people respect Mississippi State for whatever reason. I do. I know I do. I think it's a great place to coach. I think those fans out there are good fans, and you can go win 7 or 8 a year out there, and they're happy. They're not gonna run you off. If you do what Dan Mullen did there, you're a hero. And they understand that. They sort of understand their place and all that good stuff. Now, baseball, that's a different story. And I think basketball, they have, because they've been to Final Four and they've been consistently good at times, they get a little bit higher standards there. But football, they get it. I mean, so it's a good job. I mean, and it's an SEC job, and, you can always hit your ceiling there and move on. But, Chadwell was the I guess the Vegas odds favorite when the job opened. But I hadn't heard much about him, and the signs point to him staying at Liberty. So the Mullen was in it, and maybe Summerall from Troy, but I know Mike Morgan doesn't want to believe me that there's any possibility that Mark Stoops leaves to go to Iowa. But Summerall would be the next guy at Kentucky. He's a Kentucky graduate, the coach at Troy. He came from Mark Stoops' staff, and he's a damn good coach. He's a really good coach. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what direction you would go if you're him. And I'll tell you who I would hire if I were them. If Traylor does not get from Texas San Antonio, does not get the Texas A&M job, and he would come, because I don't know, some of those Texas guys, they just kind of wait for the next. He may be just sitting there waiting. I'm gonna wait on Baylor to come open. That guy can coach. I mean, Texas San Antonio started their program. Remember Larry Coker was their first coach at UTSA?
Yeah, sure do.
And I think they had Frank Wilson out there for a while, and he's the Roadrunners are legit. They played Tulane today. Tulane better watch out. Willie Fritz is a name that they've talked about.
Yeah, I was going to say both coaches in that 3:30 game today should be on Mississippi State.
Yeah. Got something in that here in a little bit too. The trailer thing, JC. If you, I'm not saying that this is this situation, but if you are Coach Traylor at UTSA with the Roadrunners and you do have an opportunity, let's say you had an opportunity at both. Let's say Mississippi State and A&M are both. Okay, man. Okay, we all know where the more money is going to come from. That's going to come from Texas A&M. But I mean, wouldn't there be a piece of him that's like, well, now wait a second. If I just everybody that goes to A&M, nobody ever meets those standards. Nobody. Jimbo couldn't do it. None of them do. What if I just run on over here to Starkville and just kind of do what Lane's doing? Just kind of, hang around there and get out there and win 8-9. Oh shoot, they won 10. And like you just said a minute ago, be a hero and live a great life. But instead of every day waking up and wondering what oil tycoon is knocking on your door because you didn't land whatever 5-star recruit you were after out of the state of Oklahoma.
Man, but he's a Texan. He's from Texas. And everybody in Texas thinks their brisket and chili are the best, right? It doesn't matter if it sucks. So, and everybody's dream in that daggum state is to either coach for the Aggies or Longhorns. I mean, I think it'd be hard for him or anybody else to turn that job down if you're a Texas guy. I think they think they're too big for it. And Adam Rowe, who is probably one of the most connected people at Duke University in the business, reports the other day, Elko is staying at Duke. So I expect him to stay at Duke. So, I mean, it gets to a point where I don't know what the hell they're thinking, if you're the Aggies. You shot for and I guess with the UTSA thing, guys, you have already been down that road with Kevin Sumlin, the in-state mid-major guy that you kind of promoted, right? You've actually done the Dan Campbell thing when you brought Mike Sherman back. You went and made a big splash with Francione because he was in freaking Alabama. So you reversed the Bear thing on him, brought him back to A&M. Didn't work. And then Jimbo, you shot for the moon. You got a sitting head coach with a national championship, and it didn't work. So I don't know what, I don't know what. To me, Elko would have been the guy because, he's not a Texas guy. He's from New Jersey. He's different. He has a little bit of time spent there, but he's a proven winner across the board. And he wins. He's won in tough situations. He's won in great situations at places with resources. They run a good style of offense and defense that's effective and that's been proven in the SEC. I just I don't get it. I think the Aggies are overthinking it yet again, and I don't think they're getting Dan Lanning. I don't care how much money they offer him. Oregon's going to at least come close. And unless Lanning's just a crazy glue sniffer and got in his press conference and told a Nick Saban, I'm staying with the Dolphins level lie, which is worse when you're in college and do it. Okay. In the pros, I get it. Miami media need to leave Nick alone. Okay. Go back to college. Okay. That's fine. I didn't really even care what Bobby Petrino did when he left the Falcons. But look, you say that and you're dealing with college kids, your credibility is going to take a hit. If you were that adamant about it. And he's like, oh no, he started talking about like how he's different than everybody else and all this BS. So I don't know, man. It's that A&M job to me is more fascinating than Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State will hire a good coach. Who knows what kind of success he'll have there? It was a tough situation with Leach. I thought with Leach they had kind of the same deal with Mullen. He's so good on offense and such a character. Everybody kind of pays attention to you, and you're going to win 7 or 8 games a year. And you're going to upset 2 or 3 teams every single year. But so I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen. To me, Chadwell would be that guy because of Chadwell's offense. Now, nobody knows if it'll work in the SEC. My suspicion is it definitely would. But who knows? I mean, I don't know. Man, and at some point maybe Chadwell wants to stay at Liberty for a while and cash that check and win 10, 11 games a year, and then go get a huge job.
Yeah, at some point in time, sometimes it's just about hiring a winner. Jamie Chadwell has won everywhere. I know he's been up against the rules a couple of times in his career, but nonetheless, he has won everywhere he's been. So
we're all from South Carolina, right? All 3 of us. It's our state. When you win at North Greenville and Charleston Southern, you're doing something pretty good.
Well, I mean, honestly, even Coastal Carolina, I mean, what had they won until he got there and did what he did? They'd never won anything.
Yeah, they just had they had a guy that told us, David Bennett, who, bless us, I like David Bennett a lot.
Oh, I love David Bennett.
Told a great story about, we need some cats. We don't know no cats. We need dogs.
We need dogs.
And he built that thing. And then they hired the billionaire, Moglia, and that was weird. And then Chadwell just came in there and did what he's done everywhere he's been, win.
Yeah.
And he picked right on up for Hugh Freeze at Liberty, and all he's done is win, win, win. What's that song Cam Newton used to do? All I do is win, win, win.
I'll tell you, and anybody with a pulse will tell you, it is hard to win at Charleston Southern. Hard to win at Charleston Southern. I mean, hard to win at Charleston Southern. And the fact that he did, if you've never been on campus at CSU, I can name 3 high schools right now with nicer campuses. It's not, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, because I just don't. I have respect, and their AD I have a ton of respect for, but I mean, Jeff Barber has done everything and is doing everything he can out there. Former Gamecock Club director. He's the AD for those wondering. And that place, there's just only so much you can do. There's just only so much money. And just kind of is what it is, man. It just kind of is what it is. I mean, it's on the side of
an overgrown high school out there.
It's on the side of the road. You know what I mean? It's on the side of the road.
I stopped there next to the campus when I guess I left your house when I was in Charleston that night, and I stopped there to grab a couple of sodas and take a squirt right there next to the campus, and it's on the side of the road.
It's just on the side of the road.
But at North Greenville is not. I mean, I know Landon's winning up there in baseball, but they sort of transitioned from a 2-year school to a 4-year school, and it's very remote as well. And at the time, I think they transitioned to a higher level. And I mean, I don't know, man. I think he's a winner. Now, and speaking of winners, Mississippi State's an SEC football team, right? SEC athletic department. They got money. Why not go hire Lance Leopold or Chris Kleinman from Kansas or Kansas State?
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those guys are freaking, and those guys, the style that they kind of have. I mean, from a Gamecock perspective, I would prefer that they just hire some dude that we all go, it's not going to work. Because, look, Carolina's got to pay attention to these things because they got to play these guys every other year now.
Yeah.
It's not going to be 10 years before Mississippi State comes back on the schedule. They'll be back on in 2025, most likely. And Carolina have to go to Starkville. So you don't want some coach, you don't want Jamie Chadwell out there. He's going to beat you like a drum, even if you're better talent-wise. You want somebody that really doesn't know what they're doing. A retread or a pro coach that's just passing the time, or somebody that was just kind of 500. You don't want anybody that could actually coach going to Mississippi State.
We need to step aside for our final break here in hour number 1. Plenty to get to on Inside the Gamecocks involving tomorrow night's big matchup between the Gamecocks and the Tigers at Williams-Brice Stadium. Tonight, though, it's the Palmetto Cocktail pregame party in Forest Acres at the Rockbridge Club. And I certainly look forward to seeing Billy G and stopping in and saying hello to all of you that will be in there. Should be a great time as we get prepared for kickoff tomorrow night under the lights at Williams-Brice Stadium. Timeout. Don't go anywhere. ITG will be right back.
Down here in the South, we don't always see eye to eye. While our taste in college football teams, or what sauce, if any, goes best on a rack of ribs, or what to mix with our Dixie vodka might be up for debate, we can all agree there's nothing better than a Southern tailgate. And like our favorite college teams, our ingredients come from small towns and big cities. They're grown in Southern soil, are crafted by Southern hands, and proudly represent the South in our backyard and beyond. So raise a glass of Dixie Southern Vodka to celebrate being made in America and raised in the South.
Welcome to Palm Casual Patio Furniture. Because we are the factory, Palm Casual has the ability to offer the highest quality outdoor furniture paired with world-class service. Since 1979, our factory showrooms have done our best to make the buying process as easy as possible for our customers. Our understanding of the many factors that go into your decision has helped us create our 30-day trial period that increases the level of comfort our customers feel during the shopping experience. Visit us in Somerville and online at palmcasual.com. Gamecock owned and operated.
Michael Campbell arrived at South Carolina in 2003 after growing up in Virginia and was dubbed the Winchester Rifle by Gamecocks great Tommy Moody in the broadcast booth. He left in 2006 a legend, a career .315 hitter and 20th round draft pick of the San Diego Padres. Campbell was first all-time in games played, at bats and triples, second all-time in hits with 299, singles and total bases, third all-time in doubles, top 10 in runs scored and RBI, and he hit 31 home runs in his career for the Gamecocks. Now he's passing his knowledge to the next generation through his business, Soup's Swing Shop. If your son or daughter wants to improve their game, Soup's Swing Shop offers virtual lessons. Mike will connect with you, diagnose your swing, and create a special game plan to help improve it. Call him at 859-414-8240. Email soupsswingshop@gmail.com or find them on social media and on the Chief Sports app. Soup's Swing Shop. Play ball.
Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does the Wando Company, where they can build your dream home starting as low as $160 per square foot. If you live in the Carolinas, Georgia, or Tennessee, their turnkey process takes just 4 to 6 months on average and can be custom designed by size and details. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. That's thebarndominiumco.com. The Wando Company, Gamecock owned and operated.
All right, final segment here in hour number 1. Welcome back inside the Gamecocks, the show built by the barndominiumco.com. Build your dream home. You can start by doing that this holiday season by heading to the barndominiumco.com, the Barndo Co, as we call them. You can find them in the Carolinas and Georgia and in Tennessee. All right, a bunch of matchups being played today, 10 minutes away from kickoff between Texas Christian, that would be TCU, on the road at 13th ranked Oklahoma. 17th ranked Iowa is already headed to the Big Ten championship game. They're at the Fighting Marcus Satterfields of Nebraska at noon on CBS. Miami's hit the road for Boston College. They also will play at noon on ABC. And Memphis is at Temple now. That game has already started on ESPN. Toledo at Central Michigan today. Ohio at Akron. And Phil mentioned this earlier. Good thing. It will fly under the radar unless you know what's going on out there. UTSA, the Roadrunners, are on the road at 23rd ranked Tulane. Both of them maybe could be looking for new coaches next year, as we just discussed. Both of those guys, Coach Traylor and Willie Fritz at Tulane, maybe taking new positions somewhere down the road. Utah State is at New Mexico today. 9th ranked Missouri is at Arkansas. We're going to pick that game a little bit later on. Careful, Mizzou. Careful. Boise State will host Air Force at 4 today on Fox Sports 1. Texas Tech is at Texas. That's important. We'll tell you why in just a minute. Penn State, 11th in the nation, is at Michigan State. And the Civil War tonight on Fox at 36th ranked Oregon and 16th ranked Oregon State. All right, so here's the scenario in the Big 12. If you haven't paid attention there, believe it or not, this is going to blow your mind, but it's possible. There are 7 teams still who could actually be in the Big 12 championship game. 7. But it's really only realistic that 2 of these 4 will. So Texas and Oklahoma State. All right. Texas is 7-1. Just win, baby. If they win tonight and they take down Texas Tech, they're in the Big 12 championship game. If Oklahoma State wins tomorrow, they're in the Big 12 championship game. They'll be hosting BYU. Now, for Kansas State and Oklahoma, the scenarios are a little bit different. Oklahoma needs to beat TCU. Texas needs to beat Texas Tech. And Oklahoma State needs to fall to BYU. Kansas State, if they want to get in, they need to beat Iowa State. Texas needs to beat Texas Tech. And Oklahoma State and Oklahoma both need to lose. So those are the scenarios for those 4 programs in the Big 12, guys. I've got a feeling that Texas and Oklahoma State, we'll pick them, are just going to win. And this thing will kind of work itself out, and it'll be easy. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and go on record since we'll be making our picks later on today. I'm taking both Texas to win, and tomorrow I'm taking Oklahoma State to beat BYU at home. You too, Phil?
Yeah, I think so. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I just think it'll be it makes it clean, but imagine the scenario, imagine the ramifications potentially on the college football playoff with a Texas loss today.
Right.
Because you're already gonna have some shakeup at the top there, but that would seal the deal on the Big 12, who still has a chance of getting into the playoff, but that would virtually eliminate them from contention, I would assume.
Right. Yeah.
I'm hoping they get beat by somebody.
You talking about Texas?
I don't think they're that good. I mean, I think they started off and were playing as good as anybody in the country. I don't think they're that good anymore. I mean, I think teams change as they move along, even with Ewers back. They just struggle. I mean, they Kansas State should have had them. I mean, TCU should have had them. I mean,
that Alabama game that had been their focus since probably February. I mean, like when the first time that they tried it out there for spring practice.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know that they're. I mean, but look, if you put Alabama in over them with 1 loss, you're kind of just sending the wrong message. My guess is maybe they end up, if Bama beats Georgia, just putting Bama and Georgia both in, and then somebody else, like Ohio State, Michigan loser gets left out, or the Pac-12 champ gets left out. Because they've made a point of talking about that Texas game. And I think it's unfortunate. You lose a game in week 2. Most teams around the country are dramatically different than they were in the first couple of weeks of the season. So it's a shame, but hey, that's why head to head should matter. So that's the deal.
Head to head's going to matter in this one. Tulane and UTSA today at 3:30, guys. All right, so for those that again haven't maybe paid much attention, and I get it, I don't blame you. They're both 7-0. There are 3 teams at the top of the American that are 7-0: Tulane, SMU, and UTSA. All right, so they all are trying to get into the conference championship game. Tulane, of course, is the only one that is ranked. Here's how this works here. Tulane, SMU, and UTSA all 7-0 in conference play. Those 2 play today. Whoever wins that is going to play in the AAC championship game. SMU closes the season against Navy, so if they avoid the upset, then they'll grab that second spot and play either Tulane or UTSA. So it could be that simple. But if SMU loses, it's going to get a little bit more complex. SMU and either Tulane or UTSA would be 7-1 in the league without a head-to-head matchup. So the ACC goes to a composite average of selected computer, or the AAC, I'm sorry, composite average of selected computer rankings to determine who would play in the championship game. Woof.
Selected computer rankings. So are they still running those machines that were dialing up the BCS back in the day just for S and giggles there? Is that what we're going to do?
Crank that bad boy up.
Yeah, just fire them, dust it off.
Hello, Dave.
That might be the plug for either Willie Fritz or Jeff Traylor if they get left out because some computer says that their percentage of this, that, and the other tells them they have to stay home. Okay, well, you can stay home. I'm off to College Station. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But that's
Bill that they fire that bad boy up.
That's right.
Run a few numbers.
It's this segment presented by the BCS. All right, we're out of time in hour 1.
Hey,
Michael Flint, yeah.
I was gonna say they turn on the computer and it goes, "You got mail."
You've got mail. Yeah.
Come to find out, it's probably something like Skynet. It's like, I'll solve your American problem, but I hate college football because they got rid of me, and it's self-aware. Yeah. And it shuts down all the electricity at every stadium. Elon Musk has to fly in to fix it. I don't know.
Hey, guess who's at the game in Boston College, which is set to kick off in a couple of minutes against Miami?
Joe Biden.
It's none other than the old pal of one J.C. Schubert, Ed Orgeron.
Oh, well, that's very good. It's very cold. I used to coach at Miami back in the day, and I got really liquor drunk one night and crashed my car. And I didn't coach at Miami anymore after that, but always been very fond of the U.
And those Miami kids are not going to show up today. On my app, I just took Boston College plus 10. But there's no way in hell those kids are up there like playing their butts off today. Miami's 6-5. What a joke.
Yeah. How long is the Cristobal experiment going to last?
It'll last one more year.
They'll give him some more time because they're paying out the nose for him. I mean,
maybe he's going to bring in Coach O to coach his defensive line. I'll be a defensive coordinator, assistant head coach. It'll be my third interim opportunity at the U. I'm right up the road in Destin. Eating average come to life.
A look back at last year and a deep dive into this week's ball game. Clemson and Carolina. Plus a drive around the SEC, Michael Flint and more. Hour 2 should be fun. We hope you'll stick around. We'll be right back.
This clam chowder is not average.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Gary Patterson for your personal price plan today.
This holiday season, you can give a gift like never before. Hey guys, it's JB. Rescues in Resin produces custom designed wood and resin products. From tables to wall art, coasters to cutting boards, and pretty much anything you can dream. Proud Gamecocks and veteran owned, Dustin and Tabitha are creating products that will blow your family and friends away when they take the wrapping paper off this Christmas. Check them out in the Chief Sports app now to get your custom order in before it's too late. Rescues in Resin are also proud supporters of Carolina Rise and proud partners of the Chief Sports Network. Rescues in Resin at gmail.com or in the Chief Sports app is where you can find them. Change your gift-giving game today by ordering a custom design through our friends Tabitha and Dustin and Rescues in Resin.
My company is Billy G's Carolina Barbecue. We are based in Columbia, South Carolina. And we have 2 lines of sauces and a spice rub. I mean, when people try our product, they know it's a gourmet product and it can go on any type of food. It's not surprisingly delicious, it's expectedly delicious.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Gary Patterson for your personal price plan today.
Inside the Gamecocks, the show built by the Wando Co. and always live from the Signorama Studios. They are the preferred sign partners of Gamecock Athletics. Welcome back. We're here until 2 o'clock. Michael Flint will join us in 25 minutes on our program. Wesley Saunders will be here today at 1:30 as well to talk about this ball game and much, much more. Clemson in South Carolina, kind of resetting the scene for you again. It's a 7:30 kick tomorrow night. We should all be well aware of that. The Tigers are 7-4, and they finished the year at 500, 4-4 in the ACC. It is a sold-out Williams-Brice. It will be under the lights and on the SEC network with Taylor Zarzer, Matt Stinchcomb, and Gamecock grad Alyssa Lang calling it on the sidelines. Of course, Todd, Tommy, and Chet will have it on the radio as well. Last year, the Gamecocks ended a 7-game losing streak to Clemson, 31-30, and boy, was it a day to rejoice because Carolina had finally broken through at points and times over the last pretty much decade. It seemed like it might never happen. If you don't remember, I'll remind you, Carolina was down 14 points before they came back to win the game last November the 26th. Spencer Rattler went 25 of 39 in the game for 360 yards and a pair of touchdowns. Juice Wells had 9 catches for 131 yards and 2 scores. And Mitch Jeter hit the go-ahead field goal with just under 11 minutes to go at Memorial Stadium. Marcellus Dial was named the SEC Defensive Player of the Week after that performance last year, where he had 3 pass breakups and an interception, and he only allowed 1 catch for 11 yards, and he was targeted 11 times. They tried to pick on him. Marcellus, from the upstate himself out of Woodruff, was having none of it. But the star of the game, of course, if you all recall, was Kai Kroger, who averaged 54 yards per punt on 7 of them, pinning the Tigers back into their own territory several times. And the Gamecock defense held Clemson to just 336 yards of total offense and only 99 through the air off the right arm of DJ Uiagalelei, who will suit up tonight for Oregon State in the Civil War. Carolina also forced 3 turnovers in that game. If you don't remember all the streaks that ended, let me remind you of them. It was a lot that went down last season. Clemson had won 40 consecutive home games dating back to the 2016 season. That was tied for the 8th longest home winning streak in FBS history. And it was the longest since Nebraska, who's about to get beat by Iowa, had won 47 straight dating back to 1998. That ended. It ended the 4th longest home winning streak in college football history by 1 coach. Over. It ended Clemson's 34-game home winning streak against Power 5 conference schools. Over. It ended Clemson's 26-game home non-conference winning streak. South Carolina had the victory on both ends of that. The last one, 2012, up in Death Valley. It ended Clemson's streak of 72 consecutive wins when gaining at least 200 yards on the ground. That streak had gone all the way back to 2009. Over. It ended Clemson's 67-game winning streak when leading going into the 4th quarter. Over. And it also ended Clemson's 63-game winning streak when recording more first downs than the other team. Over. All of that. 1 day, 1 point. Carolina ended all of those streaks. And guys, they certainly are going to have a lot of the same magic that allowed them to get to that victory, like Kai Kroger's left foot, like Marcellus Dial, like Spencer Rattler, and probably this time like Xavier Legette, and an offensive and defensive line they're going to need to show up as well if they'd like to start their own streak against that team from the upstate.
Absolutely. South Carolina has to play their best game of the year, I think, to win it. You can't have any surprising breakdowns in the secondary. I think we would all agree, even compared to last season, Clemson's receiving core is they're just not what they once were, and not even close. Bo Collins is out. Antonio Williams has been injured for a few weeks. He's doubtful to questionable. Adam Randall has been playing with a pen in his hand the entire season, per Dabo last week. You do have a very talented freshman in Tyler Brown from Greenville High School, and a tight end, Beeringstool, who, if you don't cover him, you're going to have a frustrating night. Cade Klubnik's a good runner. And here's what they're going to do, guys. They don't – South Carolina's going to have to get a lot of people around the line of scrimmage and dare them to beat them passing. And that means Dial and Judge Collier or Emory Floyd or O'Donnell Fortune if he's back, and the safeties. Everybody involved has to cover well. And then you're going to have to get some pressure on Cade and not let him escape. And don't let Beeringstool sneak out of there and beat you, or the backs. Because they're the type of team too, man. On 3rd and 8, they'll run a draw play and stop it. You know, you haven't stopped Maffa and Will Shipley at all in 2 years. You know, South Carolina, let's just be real. They have not stopped those guys in either of the last 2 games. So, you know, it could be a very frustrating night if the defense does not play well against run. The good news is, though, South Carolina's had some games this year, especially at home, where they've stood up against good running teams. Mm-hmm. You know, the defensive line, guys like Jordan Strong are playing their best football right now. You know, and you just have to, you have to take your chances in this one defensively and make Klubnik beat you. Maybe he does. Maybe he has a coming out party. Who knows? I think that's highly doubtful. But I like South Carolina's defensive backs against this Clemson receiving core that's banged up, and it's not, it's just they just don't have a lot of depth, a lot of quality. I mean, Stiletto's out there playing now. He's a good player. I mean, they're all good, but you don't have to worry about T. Higgins and Mike Williams and McLeod and what's his name, T. Martin's kid from up in Tennessee that was really good, and Hunter Renfro and Jordan Leggett, and the list goes on and on. I mean, you don't have to worry about those guys, but they're a very frustrating offense to defend if they're churning out, if they're getting in third and manageable, or if you're leaky on third and more than 5 and they hit you with a draw play or a tight end pass. Because then they just that's their thing. They just keep the chains alive. They grind you. Eventually you're going to miss a tackle, and Maffa or Shipley's off to the races. And that's how I've watched a lot of, obviously I keep up with Clemson because they're the rival and all that. But I've watched a lot of them this year. And when teams lose, when teams do not do well against them, that's what happens defensively. Now, South Carolina, one advantage they could have, if they get up early, and Clemson's not really built to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's a 2018 Florida Gators versus the Gamecocks style comeback where Florida just said, we're not worried about throwing it anymore, and we'll eventually come back and beat you. Clemson's not really a team that's all that great at playing from behind. I know they got down early against North Carolina, but boy, North Carolina could have had 21 points, and that would have been a different type of deal. So it's going to be interesting. That matchup to me, how does South Carolina's front 7 slow the run, and then the money down? The money down has to be money for the Gamecocks.
Yeah, no, I for the most part agree with all that. Phil Maffa is an interesting case here. He's run for over 800 yards this year, but 450 of those yards have been in the last 4 games. Will Shipley, of course, had been banged up, and so Maffa has been the bell cow. 92 carries combined in those 4 games, and he had 186 yards on the ground against Notre Dame. But now that Shipley's back, what JC just said is you're spot on. Both of those guys are going to carry it a lot. Cade Klubnik is also an interesting quarterback, very talented, as we all well know. 19 touchdowns on the year and 7 interceptions. He's completing only about 61% of his passes away from Death Valley, but it's not that big of a difference. He only completes about 65% at home. The major difference is his touchdown to interception ratio, 14-3 when he's playing at Memorial Stadium. Only 5 touchdowns compared to 4 picks on the road. And another stat that's interesting on him, guys, and something maybe to keep an eye on tomorrow night, 1st and 10. He's thrown 7 picks this year, right? On 1st and 10, he's thrown 4 of those 7. On 1st and 10. So, it clearly there's something that teams have seen on tape that have allowed them to go make plays. It's not like it's just been kind of heaving it up there and let's just see what happens. It's been a lock-in type, bad read type throw, which is what you're hoping for if you're the Gamecock defense. He throws it right to somebody. So, it's going to be very important in my mind. We heard Coach Beamer a couple of days ago. You got this game at home. You haven't beaten them at home since 2013. This place is right now as difficult to play as pretty much anywhere in the country. It's going to be important for the fans. This is a message for the fans. On 1st down, be loud. Not just on 3rd down. Be really loud on 1st down. It is going to be that type of stuff that's going to help impact this game from a fan standpoint. So whatever it takes for you to understand that 1st and 10 might just be as meaningful as 3rd down and 10 or 3rd and 1 or whatever it is, be loud on 1st down. Clearly, Cade Klubnik has had a difficult time throughout the season on just 1st down and 10, and especially on the road.
Yeah, South Carolina's crowd and atmosphere. NC State's probably a little comparable because it is loud and they get it. They show up for Clemson, and so that place is loud. Duke, I don't really know how loud it was. That's the game they lost. Syracuse certainly is not loud. Yes. And then Miami, I don't think's loud. I would not call that a loud environment. So communication is going to be important, I think, if you're Clemson tomorrow night.
Yeah, I agree with that. On the other side of the football, too, you talk about communication. That's something else that's going to need to be. They need to be in lockstep up front. I mean, we're expecting this to be the fourth straight game that the same offensive line has started for the Gamecocks. Clearly, they didn't run it that well last game, but I want to go back to what we talked about on Wednesday, JC. Look, Clemson gives up 121 yards per game on the ground. All right, I'll say this: if Carolina gets to that average, I probably feel pretty good about where they are in this game tomorrow night. If they get to 121, you probably should feel pretty good about where they are. At least I will. But I don't know that they'll get there. And I don't know that it's necessarily about them going out and just running for a bunch of yards. Maybe they do. Maybe they find something. I don't know what that would be that they magically find, but maybe they find something. But it's more about running when you need to run. Like they can go out there and run for 85, 90 yards tomorrow night, 75 or 80 yards tomorrow night. If they can pick up a 3rd and 4 with Mario Anderson instead of having to throw it when Clemson's like, well, there's no way they're going to try to run it here. They're obviously going to put the ball in the air, and then they come back and hand it off, and he's able to pick up a first down. Those are the type of runs. Like when we say they need to be able to run the football, like I'm not trying to sound like I'm some big know-it-all, but JC, those are the little things, Phil. Like the little things, the little runs that at least I'm referring to. Not that they need to have 37 carries for 214 yards. If you did that, you can go ahead and put a win in the bag. But being able to run when you need to run, that's what's important when you say they've got to be able to run the football.
Yeah, I mean, and offensively, you just need to continue to put up this, no negative plays. You've got to give yourself the opportunity on 3rd down to keep it short or manageable. That way you've got the playbook open to you, because the minute you become one-dimensional on big money downs is when you'll feel that full effect of that front seven who has gelled over the course of this season. And you don't want them to tee off.
They're good, too. And here's the difference, too. Spencer Rattler running the football is another thing you got to examine, because here's the difference between Clemson and Kentucky, okay? Kentucky, Spencer can kind of weave his way up, get a first down, especially early in the football game. Dowell Loggins was talking about it this week, that he kind of set the tone with his feet against the Wildcats. Here's the difference. Clemson's linebackers and defensive line and safeties are exceptional. They're just better athletes than that's my dog coughing, by the way. It's a hairball, buddy. Goodness, yeah, gosh, that kind of worries me. But no, back to what I was saying. Whereas Spencer's going to be able to weave through, get 13, 14 yards against Kentucky. Clemson safeties, linebackers, even their defensive linemen close exceptionally fast. Those big, long gains are probably not going to always be there for him. And I saw that with the way they played Drake May last week, because Drake's a good runner of the football. Drake got some yards, don't get me wrong, but they closed on him. He could not get that big, long one. At the same time, they're also still a gambling defense, and we saw Marion Hampton. We saw him, on certain plays, good play call against bad play call. He breaks 3 tackles, and he's off to the races. Well, that's something Mario Anderson can do. We've seen him do it against a couple of teams this year. So, I think Dowell Loggins is going to have to be really dialed in and really win the battle of the coordinators tomorrow night between him and Wes.
Well, we're going to get to see him. All the offseason chatter about why Dowell Loggins and why not Garrett Riley, and they're going to face off against each other tomorrow night. So we're all going to get a pretty good look, at who's doing what. Look, the Riley situation up at Clemson, we've seen it with our own eyes what Dowell has had to work with here from an injury standpoint, a youth standpoint, and pretty much everything in between. The Riley situation, they've certainly had their injuries as well. I want to make sure that we point that out. They've been at the skill positions more than anything. They're largely their offensive line this year has stayed intact. And I think it was expected when this guy took the OC job up there, JC, that he would just walk in and they'd be hanging 40 and 50 points on the board every week.
I thought against at least the weaker opponent, weaker defenses, they would.
Yeah.
But I don't. I mean, I guess they rolled it up on Charleston Southern. They were down at halftime because of turnovers. That's their bugaboo. I mean, honestly, if Clemson did not turn the ball over, they would probably, it wouldn't be pretty. It'd be a lot like 2017 where they sort of ran it and played defense. They'd probably be up in the ACC championship game right now.
Yeah.
But they just turned it over inexplicably. And it has not gotten any better. They turned it over against North Carolina. And then the defense at times they're susceptible sometimes to good call versus bad call. The Miami run off the goal line comes to mind. What did he go, 98 yards? Because they sent everybody and he ran right by him, and they got out of position. So I think with the game being at home, South Carolina's got some advantages. I think that, it should be a good football game. But I don't think for a minute South Carolina can just go out there and play like they have all year and expect to win it. They got to get back to being more explosive on offense, and they got to have their best defensive game, I think, to keep them in it and keep the game close. And then you get to the fourth quarter, and it's tied. You let Spencer Rattler and the Magic take over. So I think that's the deal there. Robert, what do you mean? This guy in the chat box, I'm a Gamecock for life, but fire Beamer and everyone over this program right now. I love psychology. So what in your mind makes you think that's an appropriate thing to say right now? Because I'm just curious, because I watch all those on the Discovery Channel, those documentaries about insane people. So that's why I'd love an explanation on that. So anyway,
the list, Jason,
I mean, what right now decided to make you put that in the chat box? But anyway.
Currently on the college football scoreboard, 13th ranked Oklahoma leads TCU 7-0 with 11:33 to go in the first. Boston College up halfway through the first quarter on Miami.
Told you
7-0 there. Memphis at 8-3 on the year has had an outstanding season. They're up 14-6. Halfway through the first quarter over Temple on the road in Temple. Then a couple other games being played. Toledo and Central Michigan, no score. Ohio and Akron, no score. And there's no score in the Iowa-Nebraska game right now.
Oh, no points yet? That was no. I mean, I was sitting here making my bets on my app, right?
Do y'all know what the over-under in that game was today?
Like 25.
Yeah, it was like 25.5. Here's an over-under for you. 6.5 for Nebraska. Will they score a touchdown or not against Iowa's defense?
No.
Nebraska's a favorite. They're a 2.5-point favorite in this game.
Yeah, I'm not buying that.
No, I took Iowa, and then I took the under at half. Over under at halftime is 13.5. I was like, there's no way. I was like, it'll be a battle of field goals at the very least.
Nebraska's defense can play too. I want to make sure we give them credit.
So that's if Nebraska scores a touchdown, it's defensive today.
And here's the thing. So they hung a grand total of 31 against Purdue, and they thought they'd arrived. But just like we saw around here, I bet there was a lot of reinventing of the wheel going to Michigan State the next week, and they lost to a bad Michigan State team. Bad. Pow.
Yeah.
Blew it against Wisconsin after getting up 14-0 because guess who can't make adjustments?
Right.
Pow.
Same old.
I mean, it is. It's like I feel sorry because I like Nebraska and I like Matt Rule. I don't know what the hell he was thinking hiring this guy. I guess he didn't check in as to what he. Shane Beamer probably was
I probably forgot to make a phone call there.
I highly recommend him for this position.
We got to step aside for a quick timeout. Quick pick in this game. Do y'all? I've got Iowa scraping it out on the road.
Oh yeah, I've already got money on Iowa to cover and cover the 2.5 and win the game. I did not go the total over under of 25, but for the half I got it under 13.5.
Phil?
No, Iowa wins this game 11-9.
11-9. Wow,
11-9.
In college football. Well done, Phil. Very well done there. All right, Michael Flint is due up next. If Carolina can win tomorrow against that team from the upstate, it would give the Tigers their third straight true road loss for the first time since 2011. A lot of streaks falling for Clemson over the last couple of years. We'll see if the Gamecocks can add to it. We'll talk to Michael about that and so much more when we return inside the Gamecocks, the show powered by Electric Bikes of Charleston this Friday.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Gary Patterson for your personal price plan today.
This holiday season, you can give a gift like never before. Hey guys, it's JB. Rescues in Resin produces custom designed wood and resin products. From tables to wall art, coasters to cutting boards, and pretty much anything you can dream. Proud Gamecocks and veteran-owned, Dustin and Tabitha are creating products that will blow your family and friends away when they take the wrapping paper off this Christmas. Check them out in the Chief Sports app now to get your custom order in before it's too late. Rescues in Resin are also proud supporters of Carolina Rise and proud partners of the Chief Sports Network. Rescues in Resin at gmail.com or in the Chief Sports app is where you can find them. Change your gift-giving game today by ordering a custom design through our friends Tabitha and Dustin and Rescues in Resin.
My company is Billy G's Carolina Barbecue. We are based in Columbia, South Carolina. And we have 2 lines of sauces and a spice rub. I mean, when people try our product, they know it's a gourmet product and it can go on any type of food. It's not surprisingly delicious, it's expectedly delicious.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Gary Patterson for your personal price plan today.
Down here in the South, we don't always see eye to eye. While our taste in college football teams, or what sauce, if any, goes best on a rack of ribs, or what to mix with our Dixie vodka might be up for debate, we can all agree there's nothing better than a Southern tailgate. And like our favorite college teams, our ingredients come from small towns and big cities. They're grown in Southern soil, are crafted by Southern hands, and proudly represent the South in our backyard and beyond. So raise a glass of Dixie Southern Vodka to celebrate being made in America and raised in the South.
Electric Bikes of Charleston offers the most fun you'll ever have on 2 wheels. Magnum, Velotric, Aventon bikes, and more. And they sell to consumers all across the state and offer outstanding warranties and service after the sale. 5 levels of pedal assist plus a throttle help you handle the southern heat better, but still get great exercise. Bikes are available all ages and sizes. ElectricBikesCharleston.com or stop into their store in Mount Pleasant. Electric Bikes of Charleston, powering inside the Gamecocks, the show. Golfers and wannabe golfers, former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor is now a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina. In-person golf lessons are held at the Country Club of Lexington. Half-hour, hour, on course 9 or 18 holes. And if you're outside of South Carolina, Meredith conducts virtual lessons. Just send in your golf swing for analysis. Gift cards are available for in-person 1-hour lessons. Connect on Twitter at Mayor Taylor and find her online at McKellarEnterprises.org. Her email is on the website. Schedule your next lesson today with Meredith Taylor, former Gamecock golfer.
One door opens while another one closes.
Dad, please, can we please go today?
Not today, sweetie.
One heart's breaking while another one is mending. It's all in the ebb and flow. If I had to, I could go it alone, but because you've become my home.
You don't have to tell Mom that.
Because you've become my home.
It's 12:31. Welcome back inside the Gamecocks, the show built by the Barndo Co. JC will be back here in just a few minutes. We're going to slide him out for this segment, and he'll be rejoining us at 1 o'clock today. Again, Wesley Saunders will join us in an hour from Florida in the Gamecocks as the Gamecocks continue to prepare for the Palmetto Bowl tomorrow night at 7:30. This gentleman, if you want to call him that, joins us every single Friday to preview Gamecock football. The very disease-free Michael Flint here on what's turning into hopefully a little bit of a better looking afternoon. A little rainy this morning, Mike. I'm just kidding. We all know you're disease-free. But glad to have you, man. And here it is. Once again, it's time to play ball against that team from the upstate.
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it. I like where we are coming into this game. I think you've seen over the course of the last 3 weeks, these guys have really started battling. You can see the heart. I think you can see some of the continuity on the offensive line. It hasn't been great, but it's getting better. And that's really what happens when you start to build that camaraderie with, having a consistent starting five, the continuity between those guys, really understanding what to do. I think, a little bit of the transition we've done with the defense and seeing the personnel that we have and the personnel that's playing well and really adjusting mid-season. I say mid-season, in season to kind of pivot from what you were doing and really, utilizing a lot of that 3-3-5 with Jerron Willis in the game and finding the strengths of your defense, seeing where they are. And talking with, some folks on the defensive side of the ball that really understand football, that the 3-3-5 can present a lot of challenges for offenses because you don't know where pressure is going to come from. And so the guy, the front five, between the tight ends and the running backs on the opposite side of the football really got to prepare for that. And I think that's what's thrown some of these teams off in the Kentuckys and Vanderbilts is not really having a lot of film to watch in regards to, how we're going to operate within that scheme. And so that's one thing I'm looking forward to seeing is, how Clemson decides to block that. What they do up front schematically to try and neutralize some things that is a real strength of that defense and of what we're trying to do. So I like where we are coming into this game. It's rivalry week. Emotions are going to be high. The one thing we really have to focus on doing in that first quarter, the first few drives of the game, is not being too amped up to where you put yourself out of position to allow big plays or explosive plays, and really keep your emotions in check. Because catching 15-yard penalties early can really put you in a hole and can really set you back. So just being under control, keeping your emotions in check. But, you are going to be amped up, and that's part of the game, and that's part of the emotion that comes with this rivalry. But, kind of being under control as well. But, I know everybody's different in that aspect, and everybody handles it differently. So, but it's going to be fun, man. I'm looking forward to it, and I think this is going to be a really good game, and I like where the Gamecocks are coming into it.
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, let me pass a couple of things along. In less than 30 minutes, Gamecock women's basketball tips off at the CLA against Mississippi Valley State. Thoughts and prayers with Mississippi Valley State as they enter to take on this team that can score whenever they want to, however many as they feel like. And we also have
dessert.
Yeah, we also have we have points on the board in the Iowa-Nebraska game. Nebraska fumbled the punt. Iowa had a chance to just score, but they chose to just not score and kick a field goal because that's what those teams do. So, yeah, Mike, the 3-3-5, The 3-3-5 really it is an interesting conversation here. Okay, so I feel like that's a look that would give Cade Klubnik some issues. And I would love to go back and study all of the defensive formations that he has had success versus what he has failed against, but clearly don't have enough time to do that. So I think that that's something that could give him some issues. So I want you to kind of, first of all, do you agree with that? Am I on there based on what you said? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if that's one side of it, but the other side of it though, Mike, is that Phil Maffa has run for 450 yards in his last 4 games. Shipley's back and healthy, and he's had a nice career against the Gamecocks. So I mean, clearly, they're going to use these guys. Not only running the football, but out of the backfield and those type things. How can you make a 3-3-5? Like, what is important about if you're going to run that tomorrow night to make sure that you can at least slow down the run, but also still be able to give some different looks and throw some different things at Cade Klubnik? Like, are you gaining something, but also losing something by doing that against an offense like this? Kind of walk us down that road.
I mean, to think a lot, obviously with a 3-man front, you're losing some of that size up front. You don't have that, per se, that additional defensive lineman. We have, and it's really tough to say because we have so many guys up front that are so versatile. Guys like Tonka Hemingway that could play inside or outside. You got a guy like Alex Huntley that can play right there in the middle. So I think the one thing, I mean, obviously the obvious what you see is that, you lose a defensive lineman, but you bring in a guy with athleticism, that still has size, just not, per se wherever, however we're looking at it from those three down linemen, whoever's in the game. But I think from an athleticism standpoint, you got guys, a lot of it's about run fit. You got to be able to maintain your gap integrity, just like in any scheme you do. But you got flexibility to move guys around, bring pressure from different angles, different gaps, different sides of the field. So it's it's a lot of flexibility there, but you are susceptible to other things. But I think you kind of make up for that with the linebackers we do. I think Stone Blanton is unbelievable can be unbelievable in the run game. I don't think he's necessarily that sideline to sideline guy, but he's going to stick his nose in there and he's going to hit, he's going to thump. And I think this has really helped him out to have some guys on the outside that can really help him. And Debo Williams obviously can fly around the field. That guy is the epitome of, what hard work and dedication looks like. To see where he was last year, to see where he is this year. I mean, I think that kid deserves all the credit in the world. And then getting a guy like Jerron Willis and getting that extra linebacker on the field, I think helps those guys a lot in regards to flexibility. Being able to move around and bring pressure from different areas, but you also got to maintain that gap integrity in those run fits. That's going to be the big thing. But if we could get in there and utilize different twists and different stunts, to kind of create a little bit of chaos up front with what Clemson decides to do from a run scheme standpoint. Obviously in a zone scheme, it's a little more difficult in some aspects to start moving and twisting guys around. But there's also other things you can do defensively. And, I know Coach White has been the brunt of a lot of criticism, but, I think he deserves a lot of credit here and what this defense has been able to do and learning with the personnel you got and those guys that are healthy. But no, I think a lot of it comes down to the run fits and gap integrity and just, not overcommitting and really overshooting your responsibility, because that's where the holes start to open up.
And turnovers, Michael. The Gamecocks have forced 9 turnovers during this 3-game winning streak at Williams-Brice Stadium. And, of course, those teams are named Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and Jacksonville State. This is the biggest opportunity of all 4 home games being played in Columbia this November, the 24th ranked team from the upstate. The Tigers' last 2 road games that they've played in, they've lost at NC State and at Miami. I pointed this out earlier. If they lose tomorrow night, that'll be 3 straight true road losses in a single season for the first time since 2011 for the Clemson football program, Michael. In those 2 road losses at NC State and Miami, Clemson combined for 5 turnovers. And that has seemed to be their bugaboo this year. When much like this game last November in the Upstate, if you can make them cough it up, there's a chance you can go in there and beat those guys. And I think that if you said literally pick any stat at all, running, passing, deep, whatever you want to pick, I would say the turnover stat. If Carolina wins the turnover battle, probably by 2 or more, they probably have a great chance at winning the game.
Yeah, I mean that's in any football game you play, you win the turnover battle, you're going to have a shot to win the game. I think kind of like what we said before, in baseball, hitting is contagious. I think turnovers are contagious too. You start to do when you get back to doing the little things and focusing on those types of things. They're always there. You're not thinking about doing it. You just kind of react, and it happens naturally. And when those turnovers start to happen, it's right there in the back of your head about how you tackle. I think you've seen it in other football games with trying to punch the ball out and strip and rip and do all those things. I think previously gotten away from doing some of that consistently, but as those turnovers start to happen, you start thinking about it more, and it's more in the back of your mind. So that's why I think they say turnovers are contagious, just like all that, because it's going back to doing the little things. In tackling, and that's, trying to rip, strip, punch and all that. I think they've done a good job of getting back to that, but that's also playing team defense, and everybody getting to the football. And that's what we've done. We've been a lot better with that over the last 3 games, and they're having fun out there. You can tell those guys are having fun. And I think being at home plays into that. And, I think if we get a few turnovers early, it's a different ball game, and they've been susceptible to that. So that's going to be interesting to see come Saturday night.
Michael Flint here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show at 12:42 on this Black Friday. I understand you've already been doing some Black Friday shopping. I want to remind everybody that our friends at Gamecock Traditions have incredible deals. 50% off sideline polos, the ones that the coaches wear. Yeah, those 50% off. $5 T-shirts, 50% off of Under Armour shoes, and a partridge in a pear tree. GamecockTraditions.com. You can order online and in store if you're going to be in the Lexington area today through the weekend. Mike, we were talking about running the football earlier with Mario Anderson and probably DJ Braswell. It's going to be more than likely a difficult evening for him, being a true freshman. This Clemson defense is good. Let's give credit where credit is due. They're good. Their front seven presents a lot of challenges. That's not new. They've been doing this for a while up there. Jeremiah Trotter kind of sets the tone at the linebacker position for them. They give up an average of 121 yards per game on the ground. Mike, if Carolina can get to 121 tomorrow night, woo, boy, they probably feel pretty good about themselves. That means that Spencer Rattler's probably slinging it all over the ballpark. But I don't know that they'll get there. So what is important in your mind about the run game? Is it about the yardage, or is it about where you get and when you get that yardage?
I think it's how you get it. I really do. I think it's how you get it. And that I know Clemson's defense they've been very vulnerable at times against the run, against certain teams. They've given up a lot of yards, but then there's games where they've strapped it up and they've been phenomenal against, phenomenal stopping the run. So, I haven't seen, what they've done or what other opposing offenses chose to do, but you kind of look back at some of the stats and, that's kind of where I look to see is some of those teams that had a lot of success running the football against Clemson, what they did up front, what type of personnel they used, and what, schematically what they did. Because Clemson can be vulnerable against the run, but they are really good at stopping it too. But I think it's all about, the down and distance scenario here. How we get those yards, it's, getting one run for 75 yards or so, and then, coming back and not being able to do a whole lot, it's different. But if we can just be consistent, I think that's going to really help open it up for us. If we can have a little success running the football. But, I think the most important thing, it's how we've won a lot of these games this year. I don't think we've really won a game having a lot of success running the football and just being the bigger, better men up front and really imposing our will and marching up and down the field. But, creating some time for Spencer Rattler. And I think you look back at this game last year and what we were able to do was a really good game plan. Getting the ball out of Rattler's hands quick, moving the pocket, shifting the pocket for him, utilizing different pass protections up front to show run, get him outside, giving him some time to throw it downfield. A lot of that, it was what was so critical in last year's game, which was, an effort to create a little time for him. But that's going to be the most interesting, the biggest thing is allowing Rattler some time to throw the ball. Because if you can, if we can allow Rattler to throw the ball downfield, it could make for a long day because he's been unbelievably accurate this year. It's just been phenomenal to watch, really, that when you give that guy time, you see what he can do. And that's really it. I mean, it's, I think it's kind of simple for us is, we know we're not going to be able to establish a run game and win with a running game. So we got to be able to throw the football. And how can we get creative to allow Rattler some time, utilizing play action, utilizing the run, the pass as an extension of the run. That was a huge thing for us this season. I mean, I think you saw it early that, we used a lot of quick game, a lot of quick screens, a lot of that, utilizing that pass as an extension of the run to get, 5-6 yards on first down. You get 2nd and 4, 2nd and 3, that opens up the playbook and it keeps the defense on their heels a little bit. And I think that we were able to do that last year. And so, how can we keep that defense on their heels is going to be critical, because I think for us to win, we're going to have to score a lot of points in a kind of a shootout type fashion. And, win the special teams battle. I think, again, like last year, it's going to come down to I think it comes down to special teams at the end of the day, and who's better in that aspect of the game.
Yeah, Mike, we're moving into that. 10 turnovers created by the Clemson defense in the last 3 games. And you mentioned the rushing yards just a minute ago and what they've given up, because they gave up 248. I was at your house or your condo watching the North Carolina situation unfold. Yeah. When Amari and Hampton dropped or fumbled the football, it was a nice play by the Tigers defense, but fumbled the football on the half-yard line. But they ran for 248 in the game, the Tar Heels did. Notre Dame, I think, ran for 183. So that's 430 yards, 431 yards in 2 games. But yet Clemson won both those games, and they also beat Georgia Tech because they won the turnover battle. When they lose the turnover battle, they seemingly get beat, as I pointed out earlier. So in addition to running and all the stuff that you just went through, it's very important. Like Spencer Rattler, probably the last time we'll see him play at Williams-Brice Stadium. Dang well that this is personal to him. Dang well that it's personal to Xavier Legette. There's a bunch of guys, to Carry-On Joyner and whomever else that get out there. I'm not going to say that they have to play mistake-free football, Mike, but it sure would be sweet to see that because if you make too many of them, that's how Clemson wins right now. They have been creating these turnovers, and then they have been scoring points off of them, and then vice versa when they get beat. All right, special teams. I just have a little bit of a hunch here that Kai Kroger is going to have a night tomorrow night, because you could make the argument he won the game last year against Clemson up there. I just look. We watch it, Michael. We go in there before the game. You've done it. I've done it. We've all done it. You watch him in warm-ups, and he's banging it 60 yards. And then you get in the game. He had a couple nice ones last week, but he still had a couple of those, head scratcher type punts. I feel like there's magic that's still sitting there. And when he suits it up tomorrow night, I punished these guys last year. That might be that break the glass type moment he needs to mentally get through it and bang a couple, because they're going to need his left leg tomorrow night.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, special teams is a huge aspect of the game. I think you go back to when we played Tennessee, I believe it was 03, and they had one of the Colquitt brothers. And I mean, they put us in so many bad down and distance situations that it was hard for us to have any sort of sustained success on offense starting inside, your own 10-yard line, your own 5-yard line, because you're just trying to create a little bit of space between, that line of scrimmage and the goal line. And it really takes you out of what you want to do offensively just because you're trying to create some space out of that, out of that end zone. So, it really takes you out of your game plan until you can get up closer to the 15, 20-yard line. And so, for him being able to utilize that big leg and be able to put Clemson back in the, in long drive situations like that inside the 10, that's huge for us defensively, because there it really limits what you can do, because when you can flip the field like that, I mean that's massive. And I think you've seen that before, and that's we ended up going to overtime with Tennessee and losing that game because we weren't able to really do much on offense. But we were outside the end zone, we were having some success moving the football. But that's a huge part, and we need that. We need him, to kind of get back to that. And there's no telling with Coach Limbo what's going to happen out there from a fake standpoint, whatever it may be, kickoff, punt, any of those. So that's always something else that you make those you're going to have to make Clemson prepare for, and they're going to have to spend a lot of time during the week on special teams to where they may not spend as much time against other opponents. So anytime you got to spend more time on one phase of the game, it takes away from preparation from another. So I think that's a key thing for us. But yeah, getting that left leg back going, pinning them and back inside the 10 is going to be huge.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right about that. There's no doubt. I'll be interested. I mean, Coach Sweeney, he's no dummy. He scouts well, and he understands that that's in the bag and in the arsenal for the Gamecocks, and there could be something somewhere that they elect to use tomorrow night. I think you will see something from South Carolina at some point in time. But those things, Mike, they're fun when they work, but boy, they feel like they can beat you when they don't. And so a big time call like that, if there's some type of fake or something, can either change the game for the good or for the bad. And when you've got a game of this magnitude, you're trying to get to a bowl game. You almost wonder, is there hesitancy? Hey, this is a great spot, but God, if it doesn't work, it could burn us. This is the last one. We don't get it. We don't get a makeup here. Like we have to win this game. So I'll be anxious to see how that all goes. Of course, Shane Beamer's also kind of a Kenny Rogers. Sometimes it's like, just do it.
And preparation takes a lot of that guesswork out of it, because, they're so good at when you plan for these things, you're looking for a certain set. You're looking for a certain, I say formation. You're looking for a certain alignment where guys are aligned a certain way, where you've seen from film prep that if these guys are aligned in this way, we're running it. And, if that first or second time they come off the field and there's 2 times in a row where they're in that alignment, if they're in the right side, the right portion of the field to utilize that fake, they will. But that's all where game prep or film prep comes from. And those guys have been repping it throughout the week so many times, so they know. It's almost like, you have a 2-point play and they're lined up in that defense that's what you're looking for. And that's what you've seen through film study, that if they're in this alignment, we know this play is successful, and you've already, it's almost like you've already run it.
Final thoughts here from you, Mike. What you anticipate seeing tomorrow night outside of a loud and boisterous crowd. By the way, the Gamecock Walk will be at 5:25. 5:25. And a reminder, Phil, we're going to say this again. So when we read message boards and tweets from Saturday through Monday, and everybody complains about the traffic, guys, everybody, the University of South Carolina has been trying to tell people all week long, there's a special guest coming. His name is President Trump. He'll be there later on that evening. Get there early. When he comes, that means there's going to be added security, which means it's going to take longer to get into the ballpark. So don't complain. Prepare. So 5:25 Gamecock Walk on Friday. But Mike, with all that said, final thoughts on the game, from all angles here. What you feel like you need to see for Carolina to start a streak of their own against that team in the Upstate?
I think, I like where we are now, where we've come from. The continuity up front with our offensive line. it's not where they want to be, but I think we've seen improvement. And that's really what we've been asking for is improvement. We want to see those guys improve. And that's what they've done the last 3 weeks. So from where we were, it felt like we were just kind of on that steady path with those guys of just getting eaten alive and not being able to protect Spencer very well. But I think we've done a better job of that. I think they're starting to build that continuity now. I don't think, I think that number 0 from Kentucky, that defensive lineman was phenomenal and was a game wrecker. And, I don't know if Clemson has a guy like that, but they got a lot of guys up front that are very similar. So I think that really has helped prepare those guys for the talent level that they're going to see on Saturday night. But I think that's going to help. And we got to be able to, to run the football and have success at the right times to create, good down and distance situations, positive down and distance situations to where we can take shots. Because, I don't think there's many people in the country that can cover Xavier Legette down the field. And being able to get Nick Harbor down the field.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that would figure.
That's a good look for
right
him,
there at the end, right? Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We'll give him one. There he is.
There
I knew
goes.
It's
phone
just
call.
dial-up internet. But no,
I think he's getting a phone call is what it is.
That's what I think is like, phone call.
Yeah, you're getting a phone call, aren't you?
No, I don't know what it is. Oh, man. But no, I really like where we're at right now as a team compared to where we come from. I think if the defense continues on the same path, I think if you can create a little bit of chaos for Cade Klubnik, I think, I don't want to say panics, but, I think he second guesses a lot of things. And if we can get into his head early, get some pressure on him, and kind of create a little bit of chaos for him, that's really huge for us. And I think for us offensively, having a little bit of success running the football to be able to take some shots downfield. Because, when we get Xavier Legette going, you see what this offense can be and how many points we can score. So I think that's really a lot of it for us. And I think, I really like where this team is right now together, the cohesiveness. I think you can see that. You can see that on the field and you can see it on the sidelines. I mean, the defense is flying to the football all 11 guys flying to the football, and something we hadn't been doing early on in the year. So I really like where the Gamecocks are. I think the Gamecocks pull it out again, but I think we're going to have to score a lot of points, and something similar to last year. I'm thinking 38-35 Gamecocks.
Oh, 38 points. Okay. All right. I'll hop on your back and ride that. And if you're taking me there, we'll
taking you there.
Yeah. All right. 38-35, Mike.
Just like Sean Kingston, I'm going to take you there.
Too much wine on Thanksgiving night for
Mike.
I'll holler at you later. Safe travels to Columbia. Great stuff as always. We're not totally done with all this. We still got a couple more Fridays to talk some ball with you. But we've once again had another wonderful year of game prep around here with you, and really can't thank you enough. First of all, for being one of my only friends that I have left, but second of all, for doing such a wonderful job for all of our fans. That's awesome, man. Thanks.
I appreciate it, guys. I've enjoyed it. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to y'all and the family, and go Cox.
We'll see you this weekend. The original 1-9, Michael Flint, as always, here on Fridays. We are out of time in hour number 2. Wesley Saunders joining us in about 30 minutes. Plenty more in this game and around the country. We'll make our picks. A lot of fun coming up in hour 3. Do not go anywhere. Charleston Fitness Equipment will get you into shape. It might be the gift you need under the tree this holiday season. How about a hydro rower for $450 off right now? CharlestonFitnessEquipment.com. Be right back.
Hey, Gamecock fans, Mike Morgan here. During my time in Columbia, one of my favorite places to eat was Salsaritas. When I go back now for work or any other reason, it's still Salsaritas. Yeah, I'm like you. I love tacos. I love Tex-Mex. Where are you going to go to get them? Well, you've got two convenient Salsaritas locations, one in Lexington in the Target Center and one in West Columbia as well. Now, if you like tailgating, and who doesn't, whether it's for a football game or anything else, they've got the catering hotline. Get yourself some Fiesta packs to take tailgating. Get yourself the Three Amigos bundles for tailgating. They make catering easy with a fresh, hot setup. And again, you just call the phone number 803-543-6297 to set it up. You can also look them up online, or you can even download the app. Salsaritas is just a cut above the rest. That's why they're serving Williams-Brice Stadium and the South Stands, also serving in the Colonial Life Arena. Again, that catering hotline number, make it easy for you and the folks out there. You don't need to settle for sandwiches every time. 803-543-6297. 803-543-6297.
Shop Charleston Fitness Equipment this holiday season. Major discounts on treadmills, rowers, ellipticos, and more. Proud partners of Carolina Rise, Inside the Gamecocks, and the Chiefs Sports Network. CharlestonFitnessEquipment.com, 843-388-0999. Charleston Fitness Equipment this holiday season. The preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics is Signorama Columbia, and they should be yours too. A full-service sign company that handles design, production, install, and service, Signorama Columbia has helped to bring to life the perfect vision for so many all across South Carolina. Owned and operated by proud Gamecock alumni, they can handle all types of signage, including interior and exterior, vehicle graphics, and more. Go to Signorama.com and find the West Columbia location, or call them at 803-407-9284. Bring your brand to life with Signorama Columbia, and go Gamecocks!
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Coach O here. And when I'm not eating average jambalaya or celebrating endless summer in Destin, I like to eat pimento cheese straight out the bucket. And the only pimento cheese I like to eat is from Nana's Porch. It's award-winning. It'll melt in your mouth. It's good on a cracker. It's good in a bowl. It's good on a piece of bread. Also, don't forget Nana's Porch has a hell of a food truck. It's award-winning as well, and they're here for all of your catering needs. So get online, nanasporch.com. It's good. Coach O signing off. Endless summer, go Tiger.
For chicken cock, we get a medium to medium plus toast, the char level. We use a number 3 level char. If you char it too deep, you start burning away some of those flavor components that you just created. If you just char a barrel and you don't toast it, you're going to create some of those flavors just on a thin layer just inside the char, but not the actual depth and full extent of flavors that you're going to get if you toast it properly. All those elements, that's exactly what they do. They boil down to great flavor.
If you're in the real estate market in the Low Country or even in the Midlands, please contact me, JB, with Coast to Coast Realty SC. Go Gamecocks.
This break is presented by Billy G's Carolina Barbecue, the state newspaper's 2023 winner for Best Catering, Best Barbecue, and Best Food Truck. Visit BillyG'sCarolinaBarbecue.com for all of your catering needs.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. With a little love and some tenderness, we'll walk upon the water, we'll rise above the mist. With a little peace and some harmony, we'll take the world
final hour Thanksgiving week here on Inside the Gamecocks show. We are so glad you've spent it with us. Hope all of you and your families have had wonderful holidays as we head into rivalry weekend. It has already kicked off. Games are underway. If you are watching them and watching us, thank you so much for doing that. And, of course, tomorrow night at 7:30, it will kick off between the Gamecocks and the Tigers at Williams-Brice Stadium. Plenty to get to on that game. Quickly on the scoreboard, Oklahoma is up on TCU 21-13 in the second quarter. We've got a touchdown in Lincoln. Iowa 7-0 over Nebraska with 10:33 to go in the second there. The
No more
Hurricanes of
touchdowns.
Miami have blown into Boston College 14-7 the score. They're on top there. Memphis up big on Temple early, 21-6 in the second. Holy Toledo. Toledo, by the way, has had an unbelievable year. The Rockets are 10-1, 7-0 in Maction, and they're trying to get their 11th win of the season by defeating the Central Michigan Chippewas today. But there's no score in that game. 5 minutes to go in the second quarter, and then Ohio and Akron, quite the rivalry there. 7-3, 2-9 Akron leads 8-3.
Is it in the Rubber Bowl or in Athens, Ohio?
It is in Akron. At Akron.
The Rubber Bowl is rocking today.
The Rubber Bowl.
Joe Moorhead still coaching at Akron. Yeah, they have Terry Bowden and Joe Moorhead back to back at Akron. Somebody's a little serious about Zips football. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah,
they're one of two schools in the country where their mascot's a kangaroo.
Couple of quick things here in that, and I understand the question, but there needs to be more context. Jay Diz asks, if we win, are you fine with Beamer not making changes to the coaching staff? If we lose, do you want to see Hardesty and Clayton let go? Well, what if they win 7-3? What if they lose 7-3? Just because they lose 7, you know what I mean? Like if you can't, it's not a fair question. What if they lose, 13-10, but they run for 255 yards in the game and Daniel Hill commits that night? You know what I mean? Like there's just so many things that just aren't included in a question like that. I'm not trying to pick on you, Jay Diz, but it's not as simple as, okay, well, we lost, so you two guys get out. I don't think it's that simple at all. I'm not saying that they don't need to or won't make changes or address things in the offseason, but I'm just not sure that I can possibly answer a question like that because there's a lot that happened. I mean, if they win the game 63-60 over Clemson tomorrow night, but run for 75 yards, and the defense gives up 60 points, but they won, so Clayton White, gets to stick around even though they gave up 60 points. I don't think it's not a very fair question, to be honest with you. I'm not saying there won't be changes. There might be. I don't know. I have no idea. But I feel like context needs to be added to things like that.
Yeah, I would just say this. That's a discussion for next week.
Sure. Absolutely.
Right now, just like with portal stuff and recruiting stuff, I mean, certainly we're going to talk a lot about that. But, man, it's the Friday before the Clemson-Carolina game.
Yeah.
And the Gamecocks are at home. They have a lot to play for. This isn't a 10-1 or 11-0 national championship contending Clemson team. They've done a nice job of turning their season around. Nothing but respect for their program. It speaks for itself. Okay. I'm not being disrespectful to them at all, but this is an opportunity for South Carolina. This is a great opportunity at home against a team that has not played well away from home at all. Against a team that's very limited at the skill positions, a team that, if South Carolina's man enough, I've said that all year. This is a man up game. A line of scrimmage, offensive line, freshman, you're not freshmen anymore. You got to go take it to these guys. You got to do your job. Defensive line, a lot of in-state kids on that defensive line that want this game very badly. Clemson's offensive line's played a lot better lately. Running back, Mario Anderson's got to run like it's no tomorrow, just like he has all year. I mean, Carolina's got to be the tougher football team, because that's what Clemson brings to the table. That's what this year's version of the Tigers are. They're a blue-collar, grind-it out, play defense, run-the-ball football team, which many of you that were jumping off a bridge last year when Garrett Riley took that job as the OC But you're kind of wondering why does one team have the explosive modern passing attack and the other doesn't? I bet you didn't think it would be it wouldn't be flipped like this, would you? So, but that's who they are, and look, to Dabo's credit, he's not afraid to win that way. They like to score a lot of points. They like to go up and down the field, but there's been years where they haven't been able to do that, and he'll run it and play D all day.
Right.
He's like there's a little Mark Stoops in there. I don't think Dabo's the defensive mind Mark Stoops is, but he doesn't mind playing defensive, running it and grinding you down. And that's exactly what will happen Saturday night if South Carolina doesn't man up and show up and play their best football game.
What is important early in this game tomorrow night, guys?
I think getting on the board, scoring, moving the ball, getting a stop, having good things happen on all three phases, really. But at least in one, getting some momentum. I would like to see it, you sort of risk it if you win the toss and kick, and put your defense on first. But I want to kind of get a look at Klubnik.
Cade Klubnik.
Klubnik. My God, I knew that. I've been saying it right all day. I want to get a look at them, see how they are, see what they want to do. Now, the risk you run is they line up and run it up your butt, 12 plays, 74 yards, and take 6 minutes off the clock, and the place is dead. But I want to see. I would like to see Clemson's offense react to this environment because, like I said, NC State's the closest thing to this. But since the light show's been in town, Carolina has not lost a game at home at night. Not one.
Yeah. Jeremiah Trotter is the man that this entire defense runs through. His numbers this year are phenomenal. I mean, he is probably a first-round draft pick and should be. 82 tackles, 5.5 sacks, 2 interceptions, which is tied for the team lead. 82 tackles does lead the team, and 5.5 sacks. Guess what? That also leads the team. He also has 2 forced fumbles. You're not going to believe this. That leads the team. I mean, he's been a one-man wrecking crew. I'll be anxious to see what South Carolina does with him, and I'll also be anxious to see what Clemson or how Clemson elects to utilize him from a pressure standpoint and who he covers. Is like if he's covering Trey Knox, I think it's advantage Jeremiah Trotter. I love Trey. I don't know that Trey is the guy that is going to be able to break away in one-on-one type coverage, right? And that's a traditional matchup there. Tight end, linebacker. You probably will see that at some point in time. But when they do set him free, what does South Carolina do with him? And who is it? If Mario Anderson has to come out of the game and DJ Braswell has to come in the game, and you look at the Clemson sideline, there's probably a pretty good chance, depending on what South Carolina, what the rest of their personnel looks like, they're going to try to find a way to get Jeremiah Trotter active towards Spencer Rattler because DJ Braswell isn't going to know what to do with him. And for that matter, really, I don't know that Mario Anderson, although he's a tough nut to crack, is going to have a whole lot to do about it either. Look, at the end of the day, like we can sit here and pick apart all these little matchups and talk about things that are under the radar or whatever. How are you going to stop Clemson's star? And I think that really is what this is going to. I mean, the front seven are dandy, but the rest of those guys, they work off of what he does. As good as they are, he's still the one. He's still the star of the show. So they got to find a way to manage him. And I'll be anxious to see what Carolina comes up with on that.
Yeah, I think you could tell the last few games that they've put together offensively have been. There's little wrinkles in these formations, and personnel that we haven't seen all year that are creeping their way into this game plan. And I think all of that kind of specifically leads to this game, to give them more to prepare for, which is the only reason I think Lenore Sellers found the field last week was specifically for this week. And then, there's going to be something that we haven't seen, and not necessarily tricks or gadgets or anything like that, but just plays that are run that I think, are designed to do exactly what you're talking about, JB, is to neutralize some of the biggest threats in the front. And I'll be happy to see that because I mean, I think we've got a body of work here, almost an entire season of what Dow Loggins has been able to do. And it just, I have a feeling, I have a lot more confidence going into this game than I did last year from an offensive perspective. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. And you wonder is it Nate Wiggins that'll draw Xavier Legette? More than likely, I would think. And if it is, can he cover him? I don't know that there's anybody that can cover Xavier Legette. And that's not no disrespect to Clemson. That's not what I'm getting at here. He hasn't been covered all year, and he's seen some of the best corners in college football. So, I don't – the start – JC says this often. I agree with him. I think this is another one of those games, much like last week. It was a low-scoring game, but guess who won it for him? They're stars. The Stars have to play well tomorrow night, period. And if they don't, they'll get beat.
Yeah, and they're going to have some help, too. I mean, the guys like Amari and Brown need to do their share. You mentioned Trey Knox. If Trotter's covering him, then, that could be problematic. But, Josh Simon as well. Omega Blake, shoot. Guys that I know DeCarrion's going to be back, and I didn't expect him not to be back for his last game. And you have to wonder how effective he'll be at all, coming back from injuries and stuff. But so it's one of those things where it kind of sucks because it's like this is a game where you could use a guy like Juju McDowell, and if you notice before he got hurt, they were using Juju kind of like he should be. Like he'd get a couple of carries here, they'd split him out, they'd throw it to him. They especially like to give it to Juju on like money downs, especially like inside the 30.
Mm-hmm.
And, because I think Florida was the game. He touched it twice and scored 2 touchdowns. That guy, he's a veteran guy. He's slippery. He can kind of weave in the defense and all. I don't know that Brown. Hopefully he's always been capable of being that person. He's shown some signs, but he's not as consistent at it as McDowell. And Clemson's secondary, man, I mean, they're better than they were last year. I'll tell you that, but they're not chopped liver. They'll hit you. They'll cover well, are they like Georgia's secondary? No, but they're good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they're not Swiss cheese. I like Wiggins versus, if I'm a Clemson person, do I love Wiggins versus Legette? No, but I don't really like. I mean, who the hell are you going to get a Cam Chancellor? Who's going to be able to match up with Xavier Legette?
Right.
I mean, seriously. So Spencer's got to keep being accurate. And there's some passes Spencer Rattler throws where it doesn't matter what you're doing coverage wise, because he throws it where only the receiver can get it. The receiver catches it. That's it. Mm-hmm. The pass to Knox the other night and an early pass to Legette, both were like that. I mean, I still probably one of the best passes I've ever seen him throw, guys, was in the Tennessee game last year. The first play of the game, he fires an out to Trey Kenyon, of all people, throws it only where Kenyon could get it, and Kenyon gets it, turns up the sidelines, gets a 10-yard gain, scoots up Skadoot. And that pass was unbelievable. I mean, nobody talked about it because it was the beginning of a big night, but, things like that, it really doesn't matter what Clemson or anybody else does, but you have to give Rattler time, and he has to have open guys and, all that jazz. So, and that's the thing too, Mike Morgan talks about this all the time. Who has the better quarterback? Because Mike loves quarterbacks. And I think nothing against Cade. I think South Carolina clearly has the better quarterback in this football game. I mean, and JB, I think it was you, and we were talking on the show. When is the last time you could really say that? I mean, Connor and Todd had some battles, but they were pretty.
Last year, you could say that.
Oh, last year, definitely.
Yeah. But we saw that. Yeah, no, right. And prior to that, I would say, Clear cut now. Like, yeah, I mean, clearly Carolina fans are going to raise their hands 10 years later and say, well, then wait a second. Connor Shaw was way better than Taj Boyd. Well, I mean, was that clear cut back then? Like Taj Boyd set every record in the history of the ACC. So I guarantee if you ask Connor that question, he would say, I don't agree with that. But Connor and Steven collectively beat those guys for 5 straight years, and Dylan.
I could make an argument in 17 that Jake Bentley was better than Kelly Bryant.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I mean, but it wasn't clear cut though. That's the thing, right?
But
was it clear cut?
Probably not at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Kelly was playing really well. Now it ended up Kelly fell apart at Missouri, but
right.
So it wasn't clear cut. But this is pretty much clear cut. South Carolina's better receivers, better quarterback. I'm not sure where else I think they got a better field goal kicker, certainly. But not the punter's kind of the same. And then Clemson's struggling in the field goal department. And then I look and I'm like, because I haven't, I keep up with recruiting, but I hadn't kept up with like Clemson's specialist recruiting lately. Well, they got the best kicker in the country coming in like by a mile. This kid's from North Carolina. His name's Nelson something. I don't know. It's a weird, funny name. This dude's like banging 61-yarders and stuff. So maybe Dabo's right. Buy all the stock you can because that guy's going to come in and probably take the job. But, field goal kicker, quarterback, receiver, as far as playmakers at tight end, South Carolina's probably got better. But I do like Beringstool a lot. And then they got the other kid. I think their offensive line's obviously better. Their D line's obviously better. Their linebackers are obviously better. Safeties, I think, would probably be about even. Corner with, I don't know. That's hard to kind of say because you can compare their corners to Carolina's, but the matchup is Carolina's corners against their receivers. And
and Antonio Brown is questionable going into this game. I know he's practiced some this week. I'm not so sure that we'll see him. Bo Collins is out for Clemson. 5 receivers this year for the Tigers have had injury issues. And most all of those guys will not be playing in the game. Some of them have been out for quite some time, but Tyler Brown will be in there. And I know that Troy Stellato should be in there as well, but he's also had some injury issues. So, I mean, when you see these guys throwing the football, Adam Randall, another guy with injury issues, when you see these guys throwing the football, Tyler Brown is probably going to be WR1. Yeah, he's probably going to be the guy they're looking for the most. Brenningstool is going to be right there with him. And then you know who the third guy is probably going to be? A dude named Will Shipley. So you got to be careful with him coming out of the backfield because they're going to try to get him into space. And Carolina, it's been better, no doubt, the last 2 weeks. It's been better. But prior to, they have had major, major issues with guys like Will Shipley, his style out in space. So you can bet the Tigers are going to try to execute and get that out there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Shipley and Moffa are their 2 best weapons. I mean, I don't know how you completely eliminate those guys either. And that's one thing Garrett Riley's offense does do a good job of is getting the ball in the hands of their backs and letting them make plays. They did it last year at TCU too, but man, oh man, I mean, that's just a challenge. And, Moffa and Shipley both are going to come into this game extremely confident because Carolina hadn't stopped them in 2 years. I mean, if Clemson had kept just giving it to those guys last year, the outcome could have been different. I'm not saying it definitely would have been, but could have been different. So it's a situation a lot like it was last week where inexplicably Davis only got 12 carries. So you almost want Garrett Riley to start getting cute and trying to throw it more than he should, and get away from the simplistic game plan. But I don't know. Who knows? I think I think the best thing would be Carolina. Clayton White calls his best game, right? They guess right on some run stunts. They get them behind the chains and force them to throw.
I have confidence.
I think you're going to have to pay better attention and make quicker adjustments too. Like if you can't wait a quarter or a half to be like, you know what, this isn't working. We got to try something different because you've got everything to lose in one game. So, I mean, if you got to throw the kitchen sink at it to to slow it down or make it work, then that's what you got to do. But you can't let Maffa and Shipley put up, 100+ yards and a half, only to try to make the adjustment in the locker room at halftime.
No question about that, Phil. Boy, there's if that's the case, it's probably not a good night for the Gamecocks. We got to run to a timeout here in just a couple of minutes because Wesley Saunders is due in. Before we go, though, let me give you a quick rundown of where things are on the watch list. Rattler firmly in 5th now, all time from a passing yardage standpoint. He won't get to 4th unless he throws for 1,427 yards against Clemson tomorrow night. I said 1,400. That's correct. So he won't do that. But he is 490 yards shy of Dylan Thompson's single-season passing yardage. I mean, theoretically, he could get there. That'd probably be a good sign. But probably more than likely going to need a bowl game to be able to do it. He, though, will probably top Dylan Thompson's pass completions record, 264 of those. 259 of those. If he completes 11 passes tomorrow, he'll tie Thompson with 270 in a single season. 12, of course, he'll break it. Spencer Rattler is more than likely going to leave South Carolina as the most accurate passer all time. 70.6% completion percentage here in 2023. And Xavier Legette is 330 yards away from Alshon Jeffrey's 15-17. So that's where we are from a record watch standpoint.
I will say one thing, 20 seconds. All right, so this year, South Carolina, okay, at home, they've played a lot of these teams where you look at it and you go, the Gamecocks have to stop the run, or it's going to be a long night. Mississippi State, we said it. Florida, we said it. Jacksonville State, but that's a different style. Vanderbilt, we said it. Kentucky, we certainly said it. South Carolina's been okay in all those situations. Think about that. Even North Carolina, it wasn't Hampton that beat him. It was Drake May throwing the ball. Think about that.
Yep.
So
they've stepped up when they needed to, when it looked like a team,
they've had some games where they've done well against the run. And so, so that's kind of something else that pops in your mind is when you look at the body of work. Now certainly, Cody Schrader went for whatever out of Missouri, and but even A&M, I think, barely scratched 100 yards on the ground. So, maybe this team is better against the run than we were having flashbacks to last year. Maybe they're better. Maybe they're better than we give them credit for.
Well, it makes sense because you're getting better linebacker play this year than we did last year. You can confidently say that, even though, I mean, nothing's perfect. But at the same time, when you have been effective at slowing those run games down, the only time where opponents actually had some success is where they had top-tier quarterbacks. I mean, Will Rogers threw all over them. It's like, but you're not – I don't think you're facing that caliber of QB coming into this game. I mean, Klubnik sure is a 5-star, but he's still relatively inexperienced. This is his first full season.
And there's no Ricky Pearsall. There's no Tulu Griffin.
Right. Yeah. You don't have that guy, on the outside that's going to beat you, that you're really scared of going downfield on you. No.
There's no Dane Key, Barry and Brown.
Yeah.
Tavian. I mean,
that's right.
Look, and that's not all their fault, But anyway, hey, guess what? Satterfield strikes again. 66-yard touchdown pass for the Huskers. But Iowa's right back on their goal line. So they've already gone the over. It may be over 25.5 at halftime.
Got to step aside. Weslye Saunders will join us when we return. Final segment of the week going into the rivalry game here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Hey folks, it's JB, and as we all know, it's football season. My favorite place to shop for myself and the family is Gamecock Traditions in Lexington. They have the widest selection of Gamecocks attire, plus all the cool accessories for tailgating, cooking, kids, shoes, hats, and so much more. Most importantly for me, you can order online at GamecockTraditions.com, and it's shipped timely to your door. I've been shopping here for years, and I hope you will too. Order online right now on the Chief Sports app. Go Gamecocks.
Tony Pope State Farm is your go-to agent anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining your home, life, auto, and or small business insurance today. Tony Pope State Farm has been in business for more than 30 years and can handle anything you need in the tri-state area. 843-851-2222 or visit TonyPope.com today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
If you're on Medicare currently or approaching eligibility, it's time to enroll in a Medicare plan that meets your needs. Palmetto Medicare is here to help you through the process. Palmetto Medicare's owner, Brian Spencer, and his team of experts are here to assist you. Learn about the benefits and enroll in a plan that will cover as many of your medical costs as possible. Some of the advantages of Medicare health plans may include variety of plan choices, increased benefits, lower premiums, and more. Give Palmetto Medicare a call to discuss your insurance and help get the exact coverage for your needs today.
Nana's Porch, nanasporch.com. At Nana's Porch, they cater weddings, parties, and all kinds of special events. Their meals are served buffet style in seconds. They're encouraged. Plus, they can bring their mobile food unit to bring on-site and serve your guests as a unique alternative for your catering needs. Inquire about rentals as well. nanasporch.com. Find them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. 336-259-7550.
South Carolinians, this message is for you, as well as for people in Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee. If you think you may need work done to your roof or a new roof altogether, there's one simple name to remember: Elite Roofing and Restoration. South Carolina native Jeremy Johnson has been helping people in the South make sure they have the very best people checking on and building new roofs for over 25 years. Fully licensed, bonded, and insured, they provide the best service possible. Call or email today, 678-781-1998. That's 678-781-1998, or you can go to EliteRoofingGA.com. Schedule a no-hassle, free inspection today. Wind damage, hail damage, or just wear and tear. Don't settle for second best. Let Jeremy Johnson and Elite Roofing and Restoration take care of it all for you today.
This crowd, the atmosphere that's going to be in that stadium, ready to explode just as they do each time their fighting Gamecocks are introduced.
And so this frenzied crowd ready for the kickoff. And the rage breaks out in Columbia.
And what you're about to see is a spectacle unto itself. Let's enjoy.
Final segment of the week. Welcome back inside the Gamecocks, the show built by the Wando Co. and served by Chicken Cock Whiskey. Ahead of this weekend's ball game, it's the rivalry between South Carolina and Clemson at Williams-Brice Stadium, 7:30 tomorrow night on the SEC Network. This gentleman knows a little bit about playing in this game and playing in that ballpark because he was an outstanding tight end for Steve Spurrier here back in the mid-2000s. Weslye Saunders has been kind enough to join us today. He'll pick some games a little bit later on, but we'll talk some ball first. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm good, man. Doing well back here in North Carolina. How you fellas doing?
So you went home for the holidays?
I did. Yeah, came on up here. It's been several months since I touched down in the Carolinas, so, it was a good change of pace from Miami.
All right.
No doubt.
So wait a second. All right, because you've got the whole health thing down.
Yeah.
So what do you do on Thanksgiving? Are you stuffing your face, or like what's your gig? What do you do?
Absolutely, man. But one of the biggest things that I preach is balance. You can't be eating like it's Thanksgiving every day, right? But so you got to give yourself some leeway. Unfortunately, a lot of us, we don't eat any different than Thanksgiving than we did 2 months ago, right? So.
So what? We're going to talk a lot of ball with you, man. But why don't you? We've got a large audience, Wesley. About 8,000 to 10,000 people a day will watch or listen to this thing, and so we want to give you an opportunity to tell people what you're doing, and if that's something that folks could get in touch with you on, how can they connect with you and all that type of stuff. Fill us in on what's going on in life.
Right on, man. I appreciate it. Well, the football never really leaves, so I'm not officially retired. Recently as of 2019, I was playing in the American Alliance of Football with the Birmingham Iron. Still got that football itch, still in very good shape, and I'm actually in better shape now than I was when I was playing 10, 12 years ago. And that's mainly due, my new company, West Juice, which specializes in all natural superfood supplements and organic minerals to help our body get rid of all the bad decisions we made last night, right? So gut health, cleansing, detox, all that good stuff. That's what we specialize in. But my company, Win with West, is a total wellness company. So, we specialize in meditation, breath work, workouts, meal plans, and nutrition. I actually hosted a yoga retreat in Egypt last November for about 40 people. Yeah, so this thing is taking on a life of its own. It kind of happened organically, especially because these last few years, a lot more people have wanted to take their health and wellness into their own hands. And so that's where I come in, because you probably don't remember, back when I was in South Carolina, man, we got Bojangles and all the best Lizard Sticket and all the best food. I was a little Coach Spurrier actually contemplated putting me at tackle at one point because I had gotten over 300 pounds. So me and weight have always had this love-hate relationship, but now I understand that it's all about balance. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Anyone who wants to find me, I'm on Instagram at WestJuice, WESJOOSE, and Weslye.com, which is WESLYE.com.
Yeah, it's YE. Everybody remember that.
Yeah,
I had to spell. I covered him as a recruit, and I had to learn how to spell it over. I always made that mistake. But that's good, Wes. I remember when you were a recruit too, man. You were a big kid, but you had good feet and could play basketball. So I always thought you'd be a tight end. Me and Ryan Bartow would debate back and forth, if you remember. And
yep.
I thought, man, could he be a D tackle? And no, Bartow's tight end all the way. And then I watched you play, and I was like, yeah, definitely, no question, no question.
Appreciate it, yeah, man. We go way back, yeah.
Yeah, man. I remember back. I was at Bartow and I both were at Rivals.com back then, man. And we still talk about you, man. We still talk about you. Good stuff, good stuff.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, man. Some of my best articles coming up, man, were from you guys. Yeah. Of course, back before we all had cell phones and we had to get on the computer and look up our Rivals and Scout.com rankings. Yeah. You and Ryan were, some of the names we saw the most. So.
Sure, man. I remember that totally.
Gosh, that was. Was that the 07 class you were part of?
He was 07 because he almost went to North Carolina. I mean, we scared everybody. He almost went to North Carolina. That close. I remember that. I remember that close.
Yeah.
Why did you end up coming to South Carolina?
Man, Spurrier, he kind of sealed the deal. And of course, where I'm at right now, I'm back here at my mom's house. So from here to University of North Carolina's campus is about 15 minutes. And so it was a little too close to home. So I wanted to get going up the road 3.5 hours south, and I felt like South. And of course, I wanted to play against top-notch competition, man. Nothing like the SEC. And Coach Spurrier had kind of sold us on that, being a big fish in a small pond at the time and making some things happen and changing the narrative in Columbia.
That class was really simply outstanding. One of my best buddies is in that class. He was one of the guys that nobody talked about. A dude named Pat DeMarco.
He did it.
Kind of worked out for him, didn't it? And you look around at the successes of the guys that were in that class, and Steven and what he's doing now in teaching and coaching quarterbacks and things like that. Obviously, Pat is unbelievably successful. Melvin and what he did in the NFL. You could talk about Jason Barnes. He's an excellent coach now.
My roommate.
And a great guy, great guy. I mean, all you guys, it was a great group of dudes. Akeem was in that group, Byron McKnight, and you can go on and on. And then there's another guy named Travian, and he's on staff now. Have you talked to him?
Oh yeah. I catch up with Travian a lot on Twitter and between Instagram, man. It's good to see him doing what he's doing, especially because we all pretty much showed up except for Steven. Garcia got there about 6 months earlier than we did, but we got on campus at the same time. So this experience of Columbia and college football and Coach Spurrier, we all received that at the same exact time, man. So I think that's a bond that can never be broken, especially for our class coming in with so much hype that we did.
Yeah, it's neat to see now. Shane, of course, Shane was there when you were in there, and so getting your perspective. I mean, so you're very qualified to have an opinion on this. You played for the program, you played in the NFL, and now a piece of what you were with at your time at South Carolina. When I was in school, we were in school at the same time. When you were at South Carolina, is back running this program.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you seeing when you turn it on every Saturday? What are you seeing from these guys?
I see a belief, I see some guys willing to make the sacrifice. It takes a little while to buy in. A lot of people think it's supposed to happen immediately, but you got to gain people's trust. They have to see how you respond in times of adversity, right? And of course, not just your name. Like they know the guy, coach was there before, but we need to see, what have you done for me lately? How will you treat me now? So, and it's a whole new environment, man. Obviously, we weren't, there was no NIL and none of that stuff back when I was in school. So now it's a different dynamic. So kudos to Coach Beamer for taking it on and knowing to bring back other guys who've been in the program to kind of help facilitate things, like a Pat DeMarco and a Travian Robertson. So I think he's headed in the right direction for sure.
All right, so JC's the NIL king, running Carolina Rise. When you played, would that have been something like? Do you believe in NIL? Do you understand it now? Like, what are your thoughts on it, and how would it maybe have affected y'all back when you were at South Carolina?
Honestly, man, I try not to be too exaggerative, but I think we could have won the national championship in 2010, had certain laws and statute not been in place at the time. A lot of guys, we were comfortable. We were coming into a space of knowing the city knowing us, right? And so if there's a reciprocity there, then you can actually build something and create it, right? So it had been going on for years, but of course, it kind of, the buck stopped in that 2010 year, obviously me getting suspended by the NCAA. But I think it's a huge benefit, especially when it can put certain programs and certain places on even playing fields, depending on what you bring to the market and what you bring to the game. And Columbia is one of those kind of towns where you can win the town over, and you can be a staple there if you show all the attributes of the city, right? Hard nosed, grit, willing to give it up for your fellow teammates. So I think it's actually increasing the guys' ability to want to do well on the field. So I like it.
Yeah, Wesley would have been tremendous at that, because he was one of these guys, had a lot of friends in the business community around town. Unfortunately, that thing happened, which was a complete pile of crap. But we won't get into all that. It wasn't your fault at all. I never thought it was. But Wesley, a lot of those guys in that class, Wesley, Pat, Steven, Melvin Ingram, after he kind of got to playing and stuff, Travian, Cliff, all those guys had really good personalities. And even a guy like Kyle Nunn would have been really good at NIL, I think. Kyle was funny. He's hilarious. So
I'm sure my guy Brian Maddox, I know he would have got an NIL. He'd be sitting there like with
about a law firm or something. I remember his dad, man. B-Man was great, man. So all those guys in that class would have done really, really well.
I bet Steven probably would have had one. I could probably guess.
I know exactly what restaurant and what pizza place in Fine Point Steven would have been had a big deal with it all. But Steven would have had a bunch too. I mean, that guy, for the moment,
he might have had a statue. Yeah, they might have put a statue of him in 5 Points.
There's no doubt. I think they should anyway.
And they still, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Those guys you played, I always find, looking back at history, pretty unique at the lens that we look through it. And you go back and you think about like Lottie Ajaboy and Melvin, and when they came in, and you look back now at what this program achieved as they got older, and you would have never guessed it, because everybody gets so caught up, Wesley, in the star system and this and that and the whole 9 yards. And then you look back at guys who, I don't want to say flew under the radar, but they just didn't pop. Pat DeMarco didn't pop either.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, they were an integral reason why there was so much success that ended up being created.
Yep.
What is that? Like when you look back at all the guys that you played with, and I'm talking about at the college level, totally different scenario from the pro level. That's your job. But at the collegiate level, you got to go to school. You got all these things going on, and you look back at all these guys that you played with who became great players, and then maybe some guys that came in as great players and just really never worked out. Like, can you kind of describe that for us, that college experience and how it affects guys versus others?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. It's all about how much you believe in yourself, right? Because you show up on campus and everybody's just as big and just as fast as you are, right? And so I think even us, a lot of you guys had chips on their shoulders anyway coming in onto campus, because guys like myself and Melvin Ingram and Chris Culliver and those guys, we had bigger offers to go to other schools, but we're like, you know what? I think I kind of believe in this South Carolina thing, but I also believe in myself, right? If I go out and show that I can do my thing against Florida and Alabama, then I will have proven myself right. Everyone who believes in me. And on the opposite end, you see guys who come into on campus and it's a little overwhelming, right? Now I'm starting to second guess my abilities. Now I'm starting to, am I really as good as I thought I was? And so I've seen that kill a lot more guys than anything else, is that insecurity and self-doubt. So I knew early on I didn't want that to be a part of my thing. I know Coach Spurrier, one of the things he sold me on was being able to play as a freshman. So that was very intriguing and very enticing to a guy like myself. And I think a lot of guys wanted that. A lot of us, except for a few guys, a lot of us hit the field that first year. A guy like Deion LaCorn, people don't mention as much, but who really stepped on campus and wanted to prove something immediately. So I think it was a great opportunity for us, and it said a lot about the guys in our program willing to go and create something that we couldn't see. Right? It's easy to talk about it now in hindsight, but we didn't know if we would go there and win any games. Right? So.
Yeah, I'd have to go back to have an informed opinion on this, but in 2007 and 2008, when you and Jared were in the same tight end room, I can't imagine that there was a group of tight ends anywhere else in college football that was better than the two of you. What was y'all's relationship like?
Oh man, I love Jay Cook, man. That was my guy. He brought me in. He and Andy Boyd, took me under their wing. Now Andy, he was more of a blocking tight end, but Jared, we kind of spoke the same language as far as wanting to make plays and wanting to, be a vital part of the offense. And for some reason, man, to this day, we can't understand, what the coaching staff's, opposition was against putting us on the field at the same time, right? It was either Jared or Wes. But I'm like, we both can do some things, so it kind of became that. We had gone through our three tight end coaches in 3 years with Fred Chatham and Ray Rychlewski and Jeep Hunter. And so, it was a great relationship between Jared and I, but of course, there's only so many minutes to go around because, we weren't running too many 2 tight end sets. But, Jared was my guy. I learned a lot from him. And he showed me a lot of the ropes, especially being an ex-wide receiver. So my route running became crisp. Guys like he and Kenny McKinley really took me under their wing and saw the talent in me to kind of hone that and, develop me into a better player.
It's crazy because Spurrier got away from just using he started using double tight end formations around 2011-ish, 2012-ish. Justice Cunningham and Busta Anderson and Jarrell Adams. Yep. They say, I always thought, wow, he should have done that back then because it wasn't like y'all were like loaded at receiver. You had Kenny and Jared. Basically, it was the second best receiver in those early years, and then of course Alshon came in and kind of changed that. But man, that was something else. It was wow. All right, so I got to ask you one thing about Spurrier and plays. So Clemson game 2009, they're playing Clemson this year. So they called a play, and you called a touchdown.
Yeah.
I saw that play a bunch in his career. He wouldn't run it every single game, but when he did, it was lethal. Am I right in that? And what could you describe that play call? It's kind of almost like a crossing, like a pick.
Okay, you got to be specific. Oh, you saying 2009? You got to be specific.
09
you
got 2. Yep.
You did have 2 in that game. Yeah. This was the pick play, the crossing play.
Yeah, the Y dragster, man. That's the Y drag. That's the bread and butter. No, they weren't really equipped to handle that play. Garcia and I, we knew that was going to be a big play, every time. I don't think you probably don't remember in 2007, I had one against Kentucky that I fumbled on the 1 yard line after taking it 48 yards.
I remember that.
Yeah. So we run that play multiple times, and of course, if it's man to man, somebody gets picked off, and it's a lot of confusion going on. And if you can come out that backside and make one guy miss, that's all it's about. And so, I was able to do that.
I also remember in 08, 24-14, right? 08, we're down 24-0, back to 24-14, and you ran it, and Smelly threw it about a foot over your head.
Yeah,
and you'd probably still been running, man, up at Death Valley, and that play may have changed everything because Dabo probably wasn't getting the Clemson job if you ought to come back and won that game.
Well,
it's crazy how those things happen,
it's funny too. My dad, I scored a touchdown in that game too.
You did. I remember that.
My dad, he missed the play because our house was getting broken into. So he was in Death Valley. What? He had to rush out of the stadium to talk to the police on the phone because somebody had broken into our house. I guess knowing he was gone for the game that weekend. So he missed it.
You're kidding me. This was in the 2008 game in the Upstate.
Yeah.
It was raining.
So what happened with your house? They broke into the house. Did they? The alarm went off. I think they took some minor stuff from the front porch, but the alarm was going off the whole time, so they didn't get out with much. So that was the alarm company.
Is that the house you're in now?
No, this is not the house I'm in now. This is my dad's house on the other side of town. So my mom and dad, they both in Durham, but they live on separate sides of town.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, what a story. Well, it's okay because in 2009, and this will kind of lead us into where we're going with this year's game too, and we'll pick the game, and I'm going to wipe the rest of these picks out, guys. We're not going to have time to do it. I'd rather talk to Wesley than pick the freaking Kentucky game. But the 2009 game, y'all had lost. This program had lost. Oh gosh, at that point in time, was it 2 straight?
It was 2 straight, but like 7 out of 8.
Yeah, 2 straight, and outside of 01 and outside of 06, Carolina had lost every game since the turn of the century. It just wasn't kind. That game in 09 turned it in the Gamecocks' favor, 5 consecutive, and you just pointed out you had 2 catches. Both of them were in the end zone. And the final score was 34-17. I'll never forget that day at Williams-Brice Stadium. What was it that day? What was the magic potion? I know Kenny had a big day toting the rock. But do you remember going into that game? What were those conversations like? Did you have it circled on the calendar? Kind of walk us through that.
Oh yeah, it was obviously we had already felt the angst throughout the season because the season kind of hadn't gone the way we wanted it to. We had a really good team. We were losing a few games at the end, right? We lost to Georgia and Athens by a few. We taking number 1 Florida to the brink. So we knew we had talent. So it was really all about us. And towards the end of the season, that's when things really start to shape up. Honestly, I was excited about that season, but I'm already looking like, man, we really got a chance to do something even next year. So I knew Clemson was going to be one of those times like, hey, let's go out here and set it off. And of course, we run into the first play of the game when they take it back to the house on us on the kickoff. That really, deflates the sails a little bit. So you really have to get back to like, how much do we really believe in ourselves after something like that happens, So we were able to bounce back. Obviously, they had a penalty on it. We were able to bounce back and take it to the house, man. But I just remember the camaraderie around that. Like, we're not going to lose this game. We're about to win, and we're going to have a good time at 5 points after this.
That's right. I remember 5 points well that night.
Oh, yeah.
And the next morning, I guess we should probably say. This team started off 2-6. They've won 3 straight. This is certainly going to be the most difficult opponent they've played, Wesley, beating Jacksonville State, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky to get to this point. But if they get it, they go to a bowl, and then they also would have their 2nd consecutive win over that team in the Upstate. And boy, do they need it. I don't know exactly how much you've seen out of them the last few weeks, but if you have seen a bunch, what have you seen, and how do you think that'll translate into the ball game tomorrow night?
Oh yeah, I've seen guys gaining confidence. Yeah, I've been keeping up as much as I can, and I remember the last time I was really intensely watching was that Georgia match, and I saw a lot of grit from guys. The defensive line playing well, and I see you see sparks, right? And then it's all about really just bringing it all together. And so these past few weeks, I've seen them bring it together. Putting up some major points, coming back from adversity, right? Somebody emerging as the breakaway star on offense with Rattler and Leggett. So these are guys that you really need your people to step up and confidence. So if you can hang your hat on a few guys, then that kind of trickles and permeates through everyone else, because I've seen it happen. So 3 games in a row. We need this one. So I think we're in a good space. I don't want to speak too soon because I've been wrong before, but I got a good feeling about this one.
You played in the NFL. How do you think Xavier Leggett and Spencer Rattler will how will their game play at the next level?
I think they'll be fine, man. But just like you said, I played in the league, and I understand the importance of a offensive coordinator and a coach who can see what you can do, right? Because you can get put in the wrong position and fizzle out, or guys label you as a bust because you're in the wrong situation. Luckily, I was able to get on with the Steelers and Bruce Arians and Mike Tomlin early on with a very intricate offense, and offense that was let me show what I was capable of. And not all the time, I went to another team, when I went to Indianapolis, and it was kind of the opposite of that, where you were kind of a little bit pigeonholed. So, really kind of depends on the team, depends on, the offense that you get put into. But luckily, I'm starting to see, a lot more guys thinking out of the box now, with the emergence of Patrick Mahomes and, these new style offense, Brandon Staley, is kind of funking things up a little bit. So thank goodness this old traditional way of thinking is kind of going by the wayside when we're able to implement new things and new plays and let guys express themselves. Football is expressionism at the least, right? So you got to go out and let guys be who they are on the football field.
Wes Juice, Wesley.com. Sounds like an NIL deal could be somewhere for you. Maybe there's somebody in the Garnet and Black now that could that could work with you on this deal.
Oh yeah, hey look, we're looking into that, man. We got a lot of our research. We got nothing but top-notch ingredients in our stuff, man. So we source it from a company out in Southern California, and I just distinctly picked out the ingredients that can help someone on their path to being an athlete, right? So we got all of these superfood ingredients that are built to help us carry on in vitality, on or off the field, clear brain fog, all that good stuff, man. But health is wealth and not much else is what I like to say. And unfortunately for me, that was not my main thing when I was in Columbia. I was going against the grain when it comes to eating and taking care of myself and knowing what to put in my body. But I didn't know any better, man. So, it's really about knowledge. So, I'm just here to spread the knowledge.
Well, we'll continue to help spread it for you as well. And you can always come back. I think I'm going to speak on behalf of both of these guys. We know what a good interview is, and this one's pretty good thanks to you. Very well done. You're always welcome on our program. Before we go, 2 quick picks here. One is tomorrow at noon on Fox between second-ranked Ohio State and third-ranked Michigan, and I'll start with Mad Dog down there. Phil, who you got in this thing?
Oh, give me the Buckeyes. Give me the Buckeyes.
Whoa.
Yeah, they brought some defense with them. They don't just play offense anymore, so I think that might throw Michigan off.
This will be their third big win on the road, JC. Will Ohio State get it done? Do you agree with Mad Dog there? You don't need to turn your mic on if you'd like to make a pick publicly. You can make one privately if you'd like.
OHIO.
Oh, no.
There you go.
Hey, what do you think about the Ohio State Michigan game this weekend, Wesley? And what do you think about Michigan stealing signs according to, evidence?
Well, I got Michigan by 3, man. I don't know what it is in the air. I'm going Michigan this time, and all is fair in love and war, right? So a couple signs get messed up, a couple schools get vandalized. Nobody got hurt, right? So it's all good.
All right, I'm with you.
Right? Yeah.
I think something weird happens tomorrow. Something weird. It's going to be cold and at home. No Jim Harbaugh. But if they could sneak that other guy on other sidelines, I'm sure they can find a way to sneak Jim into the ballpark. So I'm going to go with I'm with you. I think Michigan finds a way to get it done at home. And then finally, we'll let Wesley pick last in this one. I'll lead this one off, which is ours. The Gamecocks now have a ranked opponent walking in tomorrow night. The Tigers looking for 2-0. We've talked about this thing inside and out throughout the week. It's turnovers. It's the turnover battle. That's really what it's going to come down to in my mind. Clemson, when they lose it, they lose. When they win it, they win. South Carolina has created 9 in the last 3 games. They've won all 3. Clemson has created 10 in the last 3 games. They've won all 3 as well. But I think tomorrow night, Spencer Rattler and Xavier Legette will go out with a bang, and that defense will create more turnovers than Clemson's. And I think South Carolina, it'll be raucous and wild in there, and I can't wait to see it. Gamecocks win. Phil?
I'm with you, JB. The biggest key to me in this game, because it's been the biggest thorn in the team up the road side, is turnovers. You finally turned the spigot on here to get the turnovers moving over the last 3 games. Like I said 3 weeks ago, you got to start with a little tiny snowball at the top of the hill, and they've been pushing and rolling that thing all the way down. And I think they pull off a nice close victory tomorrow night.
JC.
Gamecocks will win. I think it'll be a lot like Kentucky game. Yeah, Gamecocks should win the game.
Boy, that's outstanding analysis.
Yeah, I just wanted to give it. I wanted to bring you the full Monty there. I want to hear what Wesley had to say.
Yeah, that's right.
Forgive me for being the light to our guest. I've been talking all day, man.
And finally, the guest of the hour, again, Weslye.com, Weslye. That's where you could find some really, really, really cool stuff. Connect with him on social media. And if you really need to get in touch with him for something, maybe it's about a business opportunity, get in touch with us. You can do it on the Chief Sports app, and we will connect you to Wesley Saunders, former outstanding tight end for the Gamecocks, who helped start that 5-in-a-row streak 14 years ago. Wesley, will they add on to last year's and start a new streak of their own?
Man, has it been that long? Yeah, thanks, man. I'm definitely going with the Gamecocks tomorrow, but also, you got to look at other variables, right? We got some special guests in the building. It's a night game. It's going to be rough, so you're going to have a chance to get that momentum pumping all through the day. I used to hate the noon games. 3:30 was a little bit better, but when you got a night game, you got all day to think about it and really get yourself pumped up. So I think the momentum, the atmosphere, everything is going to be working in our favor tomorrow, man. So I'm going Gamecocks by 10.
See, I'll take that too. Carolina by 10. Wesley Saunders, hey, you're always welcome here. You've got my number. You have JC's number. You reach out anytime you need us. If you got something you want us to push, promote for you, we'll do it. But most importantly, we'd love to just have you back and talk more ball, man.
Hey, man, look, there's 30 minutes up already, guys. Time flies when you're having fun. But I appreciate you guys having me on, man. If you guys shoot me your addresses, I'll shoot you out some of our West Juice products for you guys to try, man. So you're not just blindly supporting me with, you never tried the stuff. So, the truth is in the juice. And so I'm looking to get people trying it, man. So shout out to all the Gamecock Nation, Miss Judy. I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out the Lennons, Miss Judy and Patrick, who helped me immensely, during my time when I got suspended. We thought we had a chance to come back on the field at some point. I had a lot of people lobbying for me, trying to get me back on the field, calling legislators, calling the NCAA. I really felt the love, even though I was in my lowest point of my life, man, at that time, having to watch from the sidelines as our school had the most successful year in school history, man. I was humbled by how many people came out to support me, man. So I'll forever be part of Gamecock Nation.
Well, you helped build that. You helped build that. And Carolina will always be grateful to you for what you did, and will always support you, certainly. And as I mentioned, you are always welcome here. So enjoy being home for a couple of days up there in North Carolina. Safe travel back to Miami. And well, I guess we'll be down there next month, huh, JC, to celebrate you and your bride. So
maybe West Palm.
We'll be in West Palm. We'll have to get some West Juice.
Hit me up, man. I'll bring that's only a hop, skip, and a jump from my house, man. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm about to go partake in some leftovers right now, fellas. So thanks again for having me, man. Anytime you want, man. I love to rejoin you guys on the show.
Thanks so much, Wes.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful weekend. Pull them through.
Thank you, man. Take it easy.
There you go. Wesley Saunders, former outstanding tight end at South Carolina. Eric Church will take us home. It's time to get on the road. The rest of you, safe travels to Columbia if you are traveling. If you're there, I hope to see some of you tonight. And throughout the weekend, as we pull the Gamecocks through, hopefully 2 in a row for that team in the upstate. As always, thanks to my brothers here, Mad Dog Mullinax and J.C. Schubert. For BigSpur.com. Also appreciate Michael Flint for joining us. Guys, have a wonderful and safe Thanksgiving weekend. Hopefully it kicked off right yesterday, and I hope today is kind to your wallet, and tomorrow I hope Carolina football is kind to your hearts. See you on Monday at 11 on Inside the Gamecocks, the show.